This conference will now be recorded.
Is it,
We still have a minute.
yeah, we still have a minute. Okay.
My dogs are freaking out. It's just a hazard of doing this.
Did they make a mistake or something first?
I don't know. They had a good long walk today too. I don't know what the deal is.
Okay. I'll make a motion to call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Eating aye.
trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
trustee Stetser.
That's our eye.
Just remember to introduce yourself every time you speak so it's clear on the record. Thank you.
Okay, first item we have are disclosures. Does anyone have any issues they would like to disclose? Any relationships with applicants? Any meetings that haven't been disclosed to the rest of the board?
Trustee Galusha, I have nothing to disclose.
Trustee Lanfear, I do not.
Trustee Stetser, I do not.
Trustee Keating, I do not, but what do you consider a meeting? I have meetings almost every day that are village related.
Oh, have you had any meetings with 75 Monroe?
Oh, so you're asking about 75 Monroe? No.
No. Okay, so
Have
you
you
haven't
had
had
any
any,
meetings?
nope,
Have
you've
you-
had no discussions with the applicants then that you'd like to share with the rest of us?
No. Bob, have you had any discussions with the applicants?
No, I have not.
Okay, let's ask all the trustees that.
Has anyone else had any meetings with the 75 Monroe applicants?
I have not, trustee
Galusha, I
Lanfear.
have not.
Trustee Stetser has not.
Okay, nobody has any contracts, relationships, jobs, promises of future work with 75 Monroe? PCP, Chris DeMarzo, or Mark IV Development?
Trustee Lanfear, I do not.
Trustee
I do
Galusha,
not.
nothing to report.
Trustee Keating, nothing to report.
Trustee Stetser, nothing.
Thank you. Okay, the first item we have is the building inspector's report.
Do you want to report? Do you want to report as well on that? If we all did, so you should probably. As well.
I was the first one to say I did not have any.
Okay, all right. I must have missed that.
Already did that. Steve, go ahead. You have the floor.
Everybody should have.
I can't hear you,
Cut out.
Steve.
Steve, you just cut out. Your microphone went muted.
It's on. Can you hear me?
Now
Okay.
we can hear you again.
Yeah. I believe everybody should have a hard copy of my report.
Yes?
Okay. That speaks for itself.
Steve, just 1 second. Steve, 1
Yeah.
second. Dorothy, I just want to make sure you're recording. It doesn't show on my end that it is.
Mine does.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I hit the button.
Thanks. Sorry, Steve.
No, no problem. The one item, other than the report that I want to discuss or we need to look at, I'm getting inquiries from food trucks and different, that would like to figure out a way to maybe operate in these times to, conduct some sort of business. And I didn't know how we had Charlie on here, obviously also was in the same boat. But I had a call from another Pittsford resident with a meatball truck that wanted to find out if there's any way they could operate within the village for a couple nights or short term here and there based on what's been happening. They lost their restaurant due to this, and that's their only means of income. And I don't know if there's something we could do as a village to make that work.
I think
This
we
is
should
Trustee
probably
Lanfear.
revisit this when Jeff, he'll be tuning in
Yeah.
at 6:30. I think he had some thoughts on that, and we should probably come back to that at that time when Jeff can join us.
Okay. Other
Trustee
than that,
Lanfear, did you have something you wanted to add? Lily, did you have something you wanted to
Thank you.
say?
No, I was just going to say that I would like to wait for guidance from Jeff to see how we could navigate a situation such as food trucks without there being a special event. Typically, there's an event and they're part of that event and part of another non-municipal use permit application. We have not, to my knowledge, had one where it's just by itself. It was with the farmer's market at one time, and then every time there was an event, it would be a part of it. We haven't seen one on its own. So I don't know how we would accommodate. We would need Jeff's guidance, I think.
okay, and I just want to let you know that permits, people are starting to actually come in and ask questions and have some applications in. So it does look like things are going to start opening up a little bit, which is a good thing. I'm glad people are. I don't know whose that is, but
That's mine, I'm sorry.
Great, keep it down.
all right, I'm done. That was my time, Bell.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay,
Steve, I was
Next
just
item.
curious on the everything moving. You said you did the inspection on the Del Monte Fitness Center and system testing. They're ready to go?
Yes, yeah, they had amazingly, they had some pretty major issues, and it was a perfect time for me to go through because I could go through all the rooms, and they have since corrected and got a clear bill of health.
Great. Thank you.
okay. Anything else, Steve?
Nope, not the.
Steve, trustee Galusha, I'm assuming that you meant Mike Newcomb's commercial properties?
I've also gone through Mike Newcomb's, and he has many things to correct at this point, and he said he'd take care of them, and he's going to get back to me when those are corrected, and I will re-inspect. And I've made arrangement with Andrew from the Collins' property. He's contacting everybody to be able to do all theirs, and with Charlie Fox's properties also. So I'm trying to get through all the commercial properties while they're empty because it makes the most sense. It's easiest for me to see everything.
Sure.
And it's less headache for the merchants too.
Correct.
Steve, I think we have Pierre here, and I think you were going to bring up the Simply Crepes alcohol, the liquor license request
Yeah,
extension.
hey, I don't know if it's a me item or it's basically a board's item. We got a request for a change. Pierre is online. If I don't know if you want to wait for Jeff to discuss it, I'm not sure of the protocol here.
I left it under Steve because we requested Steve go out and contact Pierre regarding the Simply Crepes. So it's up to the board.
Steve, I have a question. This is trustee Lanfear. I think the question was at the last meeting, would there be a change in the special use permit we weren't exactly clear from the application that we received, or the notification rather, that we received, that a change in the liquor license was being requested from the state. And so we were unsure what exactly we could anticipate. We didn't know about changes hours or a change in the way the business was being conducted. We were just didn't know what that application indicated.
All right, yeah, Pierre is on here and he can attest to this. I talked to Pierre in regards to this. There's no change in hours or operation. The difference is, like, he serves Bloody Marys on a Sunday, and right now I believe you're making them with sake. Is that correct,
Right.
Pierre? Yeah, and
Okay.
they aren't very good. So he'd like to give his customers a chance to get a real Bloody Mary on a Sunday with vodka, and that's his main thing. He's not opening a bar or a nightclub or changing the hours of operation. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is the addition of a few real imbibements.
I see. Okay. Well, that was what was unclear. And so that clears that up for me at any rate. So I thank you.
Anything you'd like to add, Pierre?
Yeah, thank you for answering that, Steve. Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's we've for obviously since we opened up the restaurant, we've had a beer and wine license for the last 17 years. It's worked out very well. But as the brunch business has changed quite a bit in the last few years, one of the things people seem to enjoy, besides mimosas and our Bloody Marys, and we make a pretty good Bloody Mary, but we've been going along with this concept of making it with sake, and it's fine, but it's not the same as having a Bloody Mary with vodka in it. So it requires a different liquor license. There are opportunities that we may have also to serve an Irish coffee that we have not been able to, because again, we don't have the right liquor permit to do so. Again, it's just, we're looking at serving alcoholic drinks that are consistent with the theme of our restaurant. No change in hours. It's just we're trying to provide our guests with an authentic beverage that is served and made appropriate with the right liquors. So that's what we're looking to do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Somebody suggested that maybe I was going to try to open up Thirsties North, but no, that's not the case. I assure you that's not the case.
There is only one Thirsties. You can't replicate that.
There is only one Simply Crepes too.
Thank you.
I have an unrelated question, Steve. I'm looking at Art Pierce has his camera focused on 69 State Street. I noticed they've painted the house, but the shutters are missing.
Yeah, they will all be going back up. Yes.
They will be going back up. Okay. Hopefully mounted properly as well. Okay. Any other comments, questions for Steve? We'll come back to Steve when Jeff gets here so we can revisit the issue regarding the food trucks.
All right, one last thing for people.
Pierre has another comment.
So if you don't need me, can I be dismissed?
You can. Thank you, Pierre. Good seeing you.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
So just to be clear, so basically on Pierre's item, we just won't comment and on that thing that came from the state, correct? Which means it'll just go through as planned.
I believe so, yes.
That's correct. I think this is Trustee Lanfair. I believe that they would
Lily, you cut out.
Your mic went out, Lily.
like to know from us one way or the other. So we could indicate that we don't, because there's no change in the special use permit. Does that seem fair, a fair statement?
Just saying we have no concerns?
If you
We
spoke,
don't
Steve, I did not
regulate
hear you.
alcohol as long as the nature of the business
Everybody's
is not
frozen.
changing. We don't have any concerns.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Zach, would you like to give your report?
Sure. This month we have continued to pick up brush weekly, and again, with only 2 employees picking it up on every other day basis, it takes the better part of a week to get it done. So that's the majority of the work that those 2 employees do throughout the week. We're slowly getting around them. Continue to repair plow damage on lawns. We're almost caught up fully with that at this point. Swept roads and parking lots. Started rebuilding a catch basin on South Main Street. This is the first of 8 basins that we will be rebuilding on South Main Street. We've mowed and trimmed lawns. Saturday, April 25th, I responded to an emergency road closure call on State Street due to a motor vehicle accident. The driver lost control of their car and drove through a few lawns and destroyed an RGD utility pole and village tree in the public right of way. I am currently trying to get an assessed value of the tree to submit to the driver's insurance for replacement. It was about an 8-inch diameter tree, sycamore, so it's probably going to be a little costly to replace that to its full size. Multiple regular and emergency. I'm sorry.
Sorry, on that, I know we're still awaiting the police report from that, or the sheriff's report. We know, did the driver have insurance?
That I do not know. I was just given a copy
I was
of
just wondering what happens if he doesn't have insurance, how we cover the cost of damage. How does that work?
We would submit it to our own insurance company and they would
Okay.
chase after the driver. Currently, Zach did give me the accident report. I'm waiting for his estimate and I will contact the insurance company listed on the accident report and request reimbursement.
Oh, so there was yep, all right, so you've seen the report, great.
I don't have an actual report. I have the little, you've been in an accident, little
Gotcha,
piece of paper.
okay.
So,
But we know there was insurance. I was just curious how that worked. Thank you for answering my question.
not a problem.
So, responded to multiple regular and emergency utility stakeouts for Dig Safe New York dig requests. We installed the speed humps and bumps on Boughton Ave and Rand Place. I picked up the flower chain baskets and hooks from Eli, the powder coaters, and they look fantastic. Really, for you. Bercolo is no longer doing our ash tree
They look
treatment.
fantastic.
They look fantastic.
Who's
Bercolo
doing
is no
our
longer
ash
doing.
tree treatment?
Yep. So Bartlett Tree Experts are taking over the contracts for Bercolo, and I'm currently working with them to get an assessment of all the condition of the trees and the actual tree count that they have to do a comparison to the actual ash trees that we have here to make sure everything is in order. So I'm just waiting on their assessment and the list that they have, and then I'll be getting a quote for those treatments.
The other thing I was going to suggest, Zach, it's been several years since we treated the large red oak in front of the St. Paul's Lutheran Church on Lincoln Avenue. There's something I know that Broncolo treated that with that helped it out. We might want to do that again also.
Yeah, that was the one that was done in 2017 was the last time that was done, and that was supposed to be done at the same time as the ash tree treatments, which would have been the following year, so 2018, and then fall into rotation with the ash tree treatments, which is every other year. So there are a couple other oak trees that I was going to have them look at to see get their opinion on whether it needed it or not, and include that into the ash tree treatments at the same time if possible.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Good. Anything else? Frank and I are meeting with Zach for a scheduling meeting on Friday to figure out, now that the state is entering phase 1 after Friday, of how we get back to a full crew. But we'll have more to report at the next meeting.
Zach, this is Trustee Keating. How's the crew holding up during this strange time? I know you talked about, how much longer it takes to pick up brush with essentially half a crew, But other than that, in general, how are they doing?
Pretty well. I think with everybody sticking with the same crew, so I haven't really been mixing anybody up. Everybody's pretty comfortable working with each other at this point. When they're working in close proximity of each other, they're all, they're wearing masks. Sometimes it can be a little bit cumbersome wearing the mask, especially when you're exerting yourself. They can be difficult to breathe through. So they've taken them off here and there, but we're doing our best to practice safe social distancing. But everybody's mentality seems to be all right, and everybody is ready on call for, if a call comes in and they're home and they're needed here. So there's been a few times that I've had to bring them in outside of their normal working time, and everybody's been pretty responsive. So I think, given the circumstances, everybody's doing pretty well.
Okay, thanks. If there are any, if anybody's stressed out, just let us know and see how we can help and that kind of thing.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Zach, the catch basin in front of Village Hall looks like it's coming along great. If that's the right term, the drainage, is that the catch basin or what is that called?
Yep, the catch basin.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, that's probably going to be patched when we start getting into patching more roads. So it's going to sit there with stone on it for a little while. Plus, we had to kind of band-aid the metal pipe that connects to that basin with road signs. So we have stone that's sitting on top of that right now and just kind of letting it settle into place before we put asphalt on it. So yeah, in the next month or so, I'm hoping to get into asphalt work and hot patch work and have it patched up, along with a bunch of others.
Okay, let's move on to the treasurer's report. I reviewed vouchers.
I assume we're going to talk about, because we have Charlie here on the, are we waiting for Jeff for our lawyer on that? Okay, so Charlie, sorry about that. Jeff's going to be here at 6:30 and all right, thanks.
We'll come back.
Okay. Okay, the one,
Dorothea.
Mary sent me a quick note. She's looking to withdraw Klein Steel from the bill abstract. So whatever motion we make, if we can just pull the Klein Steel for the steel plates. Okay.
Can I add to that?
You can.
I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I had a couple steel road plates delivered and they delivered the wrong size. So I had to have them pick up the ones that they delivered first and drop off a new set. So it'll be a new invoice along with those.
Please enter your access code followed by the
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion? No?
Is there any questions?
I was just trying to find, I'm scrolling down, trying to find the Klein Steel. We're supposed to leave that out, right? I can't find what line number that is.
Klein Steel is voucher 643 for $1,248.
Okay, I see it. So we're leaving that out for now.
Correct.
Omitting that, correct. Someone like to make a motion to pay the vouchers?
Yes, I'll make a motion to pay the vouchers submitted by our treasurer, excluding the Klein Steel invoice.
Is there a second?
I don't have the amount. In the amount of how much, Dorothea?
Hold on.
643 is
$16,634.44.
It's not 1248. Klein Steel is 643. It should be 1,200.
I subtracted that from the grand total.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, there's the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second, trustee Stetser seconds.
Would you call for a vote, Dorothea?
Yes. Trustee Keating?
Keating, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier? Lily?
She's not on.
I think she got disconnected. Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye. I think Lily's back on.
Lily, are you on?
No.
Trustee
Oh,
Lampier,
yeah.
aye. I keep
Okay.
losing you, so I'm going to try to get you on the phone.
Okay. Just let me know when you're which caller you are and I'll tag it.
Okay, let's see. How do I tell on here?
I think you're caller 4.
Yeah.
You're caller 4. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Lily, turn
Okay.
off. There you go.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay. The attorney bills, Mary was looking to see if it was okay to pay Osborne and Zoglin as listed for the $1,824.50.
Haven't heard back on those yet. Those are the two most recent ones, right? We cleared everything last week. These are the two brand new ones. Don't have response on those.
Okay.
So we'll have to cover those at the end of May meeting.
Okay. Then she presented you the April 2020 books. And she was looking for budget transfers.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Any questions on the transfers that I can answer, or?
I would like to make a motion to authorize the budget transfers detailed on the sheet prepared by the treasurer dated May 12th, 2020.
I'll second the motion. Trustee Keating.
Vote.
Trustee Keating?
Keating, aye.
Trustee Lampier?
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Motion passes. The next thing in my report area, this area is the funding of the HSAs. This is to take place June 1st. I just want to have that motion in place. So if we don't have another meeting this month, we can just move forward and get these accounts funded as of June 1st. Is there any
So
questions
moved.
on these?
Is there a second?
Trustee
second.
Lampier, second.
Frank, did you have a comment?
No, that's okay. I'm done.
Okay, I'll call for a vote.
Trustee Keating?
Keating, aye.
Trustee Lampier?
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Motion passes.
Since we have a couple minutes, do we want to jump to the minutes?
Can I ask a question real quick? This is Steve,
Okay.
the building inspector.
Yep.
I wanted board's opinion on something. I've been a little lenient on some of the stuff that's going on right now based on the current situation. I did get one Green Hill they are going to remove one pod by the 14th. One pod will still be in the driveway. She says she's having trouble in regards to getting things organized to sell the house based on the current situation. I've issued a second violation, and legally I could issue her a ticket to her in a week and a half, but I would prefer not to. I would prefer to hold, to let it go a little bit longer based on the current situation. And there's a couple of people with campers that I haven't, bothered yet just because of the current situation. What do they do with them? Where do they go with them at this point? You can't take them anywhere. I wanted the board's opinion on it, as if it's okay to kind of, give people a little extra time based on the current situation.
How does everybody feel?
No, this is Trustee Stetzer. I think that's the right call. Because there's so many delays, this is just an unprecedented time. I think we need to give people some room to figure things out. So I trust you to use your judgment. That's my opinion.
Trustee
Anybody
Lanfield,
else?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The minutes, March 17th, 2020. Any corrections?
I did have a small correction in, I'm scrolling down trying to get through the minutes. The piece where we discussed, where we initially brought up the zeroing out our salaries, or not increasing our salaries. I mean, the reason wasn't just symbolic. It felt like the right thing to do. So I don't know that that's that big of a deal, but that was the sentiment I expressed. We eventually said, it wouldn't help, so it would be symbolic, but we also said that it felt like the right thing to do. At least my words were, I felt like the right thing to do back then.
Okay.
So I don't know if we can add that. Sorry about my dog.
Okay, I will add that.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of March 17th, 2020?
I'll make a motion. This is Trustee Stetzer and Roxy the dog.
I'll second that motion. Vote.
Trustee Keating?
Abstain.
Oh, Trustee Lanfair?
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetzer?
Stetzer, aye.
Rocky? Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, let's see, it's 6:31, but I don't see Jeff Turner yet.
Jeff
He's there.
is just coming
Oh,
in.
is-
Yep,
I see
Jeff,
his
are you
acting
here?
face.
he's here, but he's on mute.
Okay. Jeff, can you
am
turn your
here.
microphone on?
He's
It
on.
is on. Okay, all right. We're gonna go back to a discussion regarding food trucks. And you had some
Yes.
thoughts on that.
On food trucks, I know about the holiday hot thing, but I don't know about food
Well,
trucks.
let's talk about holiday hots first.
So I've got about 4 concerns with this. And starting at the top, I'm not sure it's really in conformity with the executive orders that we're operating under at this point. Those executive orders talk about.
Jeff, I'm sorry to interrupt for a minute, but what we're talking about is having him operate on the property of 21 North Main Street until the Planning and Zoning Board. We're not can hear his case, hear his application.
No, I understand.
I was responding to.
I just wanted to make that clear to everybody that we're not talking about his application in general. We're talking about a workaround until the Planning and Zoning Board can meet.
Right, and I was responding to the item in the packet that was a request for a non-municipal use permit. So I maybe I was ahead of things, but the non-municipal.
Yeah.
What?
No, it's fine. It just wasn't teed up for everybody in the crowd.
Okay.
You're good.
Responsive to the request for a non-municipal use permit, it's really a little more than that, because he's actually talking about leasing our property. I mean, actually using village property. So it's layered a little bit more, like we're leasing to somebody for a use on our property. But I'm not sure that's all that relevant to discussion, because I'm I'm not certain, it would also require a non-municipal use permit though. So I'm not certain that issuing a non-municipal use permit for this use would be something that we should or could be doing under the current executive orders, which discuss how municipalities may operate and what they may do. And I think those operations are supposed to be limited to essential operations that are required for the public welfare. I'm not going to make any decision about whether or not this meets that criteria, but I think it's would be a tough sell to make. I mean, that's one. Two, I've got an issue. My question is, what kind of precedent would this set? We're not talking about, is there going to be another pandemic and that's how this use would be. We're talking about when somebody's property is not available to them for whatever reason, we're going to solve that maybe with a non-municipal use permit on village property, which is, I think, problematic for the future. Then we've got the liability issue, which I think we can cover because our insurance agent told us how to do that. The third point I would have is, you know, what are the rest of the businesses going to think who may or may not be able to open like this? You know, I mean, but that's more of a trustee call than a Turner call. And the fourth one is, or fifth one, I guess I'm up to, is how do you determine what a fair rental would be for our property on North Main Street in the village of Pittsford, which is pretty pricey real estate. And it's really got to be a fair rental, or you're giving away municipal goods without just compensation, which is a gift, which is prohibited. So those are my high points of difficulties. I mean, and you know, I guess from the PR piece, which is also not really my call, you're talking about inviting people to use village property during a pandemic. I mean, and that, I guess, is again a trustee issue that you'll have to resolve for yourselves. But I do see some real problematic issues with this request.
Discussion? Discussion from the
And
board.
that's all I've got, really.
Yeah, I understand and hear you, Jeff. Thank you for looking into it. I don't know if the whole board is tracking, but the Planning and Zoning Board did not file the public hearing notice properly or in time. And so the soonest they can hear it is June 1st, which, Charlie, I just learned of this today and is pretty disappointing. So I'm wondering how we can get creative. This is a business that has operated for 10 years in the same spot, and it seems like we're making it harder than it needs to be. So I'm wondering what we can do. I recognize that we can't break rules, but you know, is there any way to get around a long notice period with sort of an emergency, because this is somebody's income, this is somebody's livelihood? I would feel differently about it if it was the first year, or even the second year, or the third year. It's the 10th year. They're good neighbors. There's no problems from them. What can we do to speed this up? Is there any way we can do the Planning and Zoning Board sooner than June 1st? What else can we do?
If I can speak, my understanding from Linda, this was the date she was able to get set with the board. So by the time the response came in and with the proper posting, this June 1st was the earliest it could happen.
Right, but it's with the proper posting that I want to delve into a little bit more.
I don't know a way around the open meetings law regarding posting, not with something like this. I mean, I know the open meetings law was changed to allow for the video conferencing, but I don't think it affects the legal posting of items.
The open meetings law, the open meetings law was suspended only to the extent of how meetings may occur, not how they must be noticed.
Trustee Galusha, I think our counselor raises some very valid points. Nothing against the individual or the business, but I think he raises some very valid points that cannot be overlooked and cannot be worked around. That's my opinion.
And I think we all share the sentiment that Dan expressed, because Charlie's had a, he's a well-loved village business. He's a destination. I think people really enjoy having him. And, but I think we've got to follow the law. I don't, unless someone can come up with a suggestion, I'm not sure that we found an avenue that legally works yet.
I just want to make the point that I don't do anything about, I don't give any advice that is grounded in what I think of the applicant or don't think of the applicant. As you know from our last meeting, Steve and I worked pretty hard trying to find a way to make this work. We really did. And it wasn't through lack of effort and creativeness and going through the code to try to find an answer. I mean, we really worked hard on this, but I just can't think of a way to do this. And I apologize.
There's nothing to apologize for, Jeff. You did your job, and we appreciate that, and looked at it from all angles, and we're following your counsel because it's the right thing to do, and we appreciate you doing that work. I don't think there's anything to apologize for.
My apology was for not being as creative as I wanted to be, because I really wanted to find a way. I usually can find a way.
Yeah,
I have a question for you, Jeff. And the phase 1 reopening in our region that's supposed to happen after Friday, do we know specifically what businesses will be included in that release?
I do know it, but I left that, unfortunately, on my desk at work.
Okay.
It's very limited.
But it is, isn't it, like retail locations and everybody can open, but for curbside now? Is that correct?
I think it's more limited than that, but I'm not convinced. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to speak out of turn.
I'm going right to the site.
I think Steve knows. He's got his hand up.
Well, I just want to say Charlie is essentially a takeout business. A takeout business has never been disallowed since this to happen. He is essentially a takeout restaurant on wheels. So he's never been officially closed. Any restaurant that could offer takeout and maintain social distancing has been allowed to operate throughout this. So Charlie, technically, if he was given, or if we could figure out, and like Jeff said, we've tried every trick we could think of, and every, you know what I mean? But Charlie just needs a spot to park his vehicle or his cart on, and he's legal as far as the state mandate goes. He has been throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, so can we talk about, go back to having temporarily placed on the village hall spot. Jeff, you said you were concerned about precedent, and I'm wondering if like these the fact that this is a pandemic and we're in a very unprecedented time, like next year, if we're lucky, we won't be under another one, but I'm not too worried about their setting a precedent, because we could prove that this was during a pandemic. I mean, it would be in our findings that this was a very unique situation where our planning board was not meeting as frequently. I mean, we already, when we did our budget, we suggested that they even meet less frequently to help with the budget, to reduce the budget costs as well. So like, this is unprecedented because of the situation we're in. Is that not enough of a way to get around that issue?
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly up to the board, but I think it would arise anytime someone lost the ability to, bear in mind, you're not talking about shortening any, because the planning board couldn't meet. You're talking about using a non-municipal use permit to allow this kind of use on municipal property. That's what we're talking about. And that could arise anytime someone lost wherever they were doing some kind of business they wanted to do on our property. I don't know. I can't come up with a fact pattern, but it's not just due to the pandemic. It may be due to the pandemic that the planning board can't, or the ZBA can't meet, couldn't meet to do this, but it is because he doesn't have a place available to him to operate that we're talking about doing a non-municipal use permit. And I think that's a distinction. And that would really only clear up, the 4 problems that I have with this.
I have a question. Trustee Lanfear?
It's not a problem. Let me restate that. It's not a problem that I have with it. It's problems that I see legally with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Leaving ourselves vulnerable. Yeah, I gotcha.
Guys, please.
Trustee Lanfear has the floor.
Thank you. Trustee Lanfear. Jeff, would that non-municipal use permit, would that extend by any chance to the fire department? Would they be considered, because they're sort of autonomous, would they be considered their own entity? I don't know what else way to would they be able to apply for a non-municipal use permit in order to allow a hot dog vendor on their property?
Can I answer that?
That's a very, very interesting question, because they're in some senses a mini municipality. But I'm guessing, because I don't know the answer to this and haven't looked into it. I'm guessing one of the things on the list of what a fire department can do, I don't think that this is on the list. I don't think they'd be able to do this. It would have to be a fundraiser or something like that.
They are fire districts are subject to municipal zoning.
I see.
They do not have a waiver the way school districts do.
Well, but I think Lily was asking whether, I thought maybe I misunderstood the question. I thought that she was asking whether or not they could grant their own permit to do this, because they are in some sense a district.
No, but they do not. Their jurisdiction does not override village zoning, so it doesn't waive the village zoning. They would still need whatever approvals are necessary from the village.
Okay.
I think that's the right answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Steve again. I wanted to add into that because I thought of that, putting them in the driveway of the house next door, which is fire department property. But the problem is it's still the LOR district, which is limited office residential, still falls under the same planning zoning rules that were adopted. But I have another thought or suggestion here. Something I looked into today, and something Bob and I had kind of tossed around a little bit. What about a parking spot on South Main Street, because it's empty right now? And what about issuing him a Chapter 189 transient merchant permit?
Now
What
you're
do you think of
thinking.
that, Jeff?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I have no idea. Who's got jurisdiction? On what street, Steve?
On South Main Street, in a parking space, same thing you do when we have candlelight night. We let a vendor park right in one of the parking spots, set up his cart, serve food right there. He'd only be there during lunchtime during the day. There's no traffic at this point to affect. If he only took up one spot with his cart, parked his van somewhere else, and operated for lunches, we could issue him a temporary transient merchant permit without having to go through all the rigmarole. It's legal in the district, and it might be a way around it. There's nobody he's going to hurt if he goes, say, farther, the kind of the farthest end of South Main Street for now, until the first the 2nd of June.
I would suggest you park them in front of the Blades property because that's vacant right now. So it wouldn't even block a storefront that's going to open in the near future.
I was thinking
I
the
like
same
this
thing.
idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like this
this idea
idea.
too. And to remind everybody, this is just for 2 weeks. This is just to get them to the 1st of June.
That's right.
Tell the
That's
planning
right.
board to meet. Right.
Right.
Do we have, so when we set up, usually when we set these up, oh, sorry, trustee Stetzer, usually when these festivals and whatnot are going on, the street is closed off or partially closed off. So do we have to do anything to keep them safe as traffic passes by since the roads are open? Do we need to do anything there?
I don't, that's kind of up to Charlie out what kind of comfort level he would have there.
So do we control, wait a minute, hold on. Do we, Turner here, do we control South Main Street or is that a state road?
That's a state.
It's a state road, but certain aspects, it's also a village right of way.
This is trustee Lampier. There is a spot to the left of the building as you're looking at it, this extra large as a parking space because it used to be the right of way to get into the driveway, which no longer exists. And in any case, if the cart were parked so that people could walk up to it, it wasn't, in other words, you're not in the street when you're visiting the cart. That's the way I'm envisioning.
Yeah.
Well, the cart is in the parking spot and then
Facing
people on
the
the sidewalk can walk over to it.
Walking
Correct.
up on the sidewalk and yes, okay. Would the same insurance waiver be in place? Would require, Steve? Same thing? Okay.
And we would have, part of the transient, this is Steve again, part of the transient merchant thing, and this is, it'd be minor, but you have to.
How long of a time frame are we looking at for transient merchant? Are they one time only?
Yeah, we would give them a permit for 2 weeks, and you have to collect sales tax or tax based on the current property tax rate. That's how the law is written for transient merchant. So whatever Charlie's intake would be for that period, we would have to charge the tax rate that is a property tax rate within the village for the sales during that time period. And that would be his fee for being able to operate there. We can't, I don't know that the board could waive that if they chose. I don't know the legality of that.
What my thought is that I know that we are not permitted to have a business on public property. And so that is a concern. So you're saying that the tax would.
This is a legal way of doing it, Lily. Yeah, this is how it's, because they're paying a fee, which is a percentage of the sales tax.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I guess, but I asked you, do you have now? I mean, what do you look for?
Hey, Frank, I think your wife is talking in the background.
Yeah.
We're picking up her conversation. I don't know if you can mute it while you're not talking.
Here, I'll mute Frank for him. Just for a
Okay.
bit. Frank, when you want to talk again, just raise your hand, okay?
Okay. Thanks. We shouldn't be listening to her conversation, not that we. It just felt weird.
You're right. Jeff, are you researching?
I'm reading.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll give you a minute.
This is
My
good
assumption-
creative
go ahead.
thinking, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. My assumption is we would put some good cones behind. So Charlie and Bernie would be standing with their back to traffic, right?
Right.
Facing the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So I would assume we would put some good cones around them, or
Yeah, well,
I just want to make sure they're protected.
Yeah,
in there.
Lily's idea about putting it in the is that spot like extra deep compared to a normal parking spot, Or is it just that it's extra long? It's deep too, so there's a cutout for the driveway, because that could get him out of the road a little bit more too. That was my main concern, is how do we protect him behind that cart, knowing that his back is going to be to traffic, and we already don't trust traffic on a regular basis. So yeah, some cones would be good. I don't know if we can loan him some, maybe Zach, you can give him a couple cones that he could just have on his cart. I mean, we're talking about a very short period of time here, if this works, if Jeff says it works, but.
One thing that would help Renee would be to have a car parked in the parking spot immediately to the south of where Charlie's cart would be positioned.
Could he
That would
put,
get
didn't
some
you say he
protection.
has a, yeah, can he put his van there, or that doesn't count your, oh, yeah, could we do that? If he parks his van on one side and.
Seems like that would be a solution. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. We would definitely figure out a way to do it, put our van there and then maybe cones behind us or something.
Yeah,
We're willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to, come down and just see what it looks like, we'll try it and see if, I don't know. I appreciate what everybody's doing. I really do. You guys are great.
Very well.
I would
I
suggest
would
that
like to run this by Gary Wilkins to make sure we're not missing it. Legally, I don't think it's a problem. You're gonna have
Okay,
to,
good.
it still requires a temporary, it still requires a non-municipal use permit for the sidewalk area and probably the street. And if everybody's convinced that the Department of Transportation is not gonna have a problem with it.
Well, why don't we make a motion conditional upon review by Gary Wilkins and authorization from the Department of Transportation that they don't have any objections to it.
I would second that motion.
Can I talk for a second more?
Yes, you
I
can.
think we ought to include in that motion that there be insurance as required, as set forth in Gary's email of yesterday. I think the limits ought to be $1 million and $5 million, $5 million aggregate, because we're on a street.
Yes, I agree with that. That's trustee Lampier.
So I would amend my motion accordingly.
And then
Is that close to what Charlie currently has, or is Charlie going to have to source additional insurance?
I don't know, but he's in a very insurance required spot if he's working on our street.
you know what you carry now, Charlie? I know you got at least 2 million of the one.
I was gonna say, I think it's 1 million, 2 million, I think. I don't have the form in front of me. I could look it up. I mean, I got my file cabinet right here, but just give me a minute or two to look it up.
I had one other crazy idea, Steve. When Lily mentioned that he could park in front of the old Blades, the parking lot behind the Blades, is privately owned. Would we be able to contact the owner to see if maybe he could operate there? Is that a crazy idea? Is this making things more complicated for just for this 2-week period?
I think
It
that's
brings
more
with it-
complicated, Renee.
It brings with it the
Because
same,
the owner is Charlie Fox, and it would require a temporary use permit because it's not municipal property.
Okay, so we're in the same boat. Okay, I was just trying to get him out of the roadway. I am worried about, I'm worried about people on our streets anyway, let alone someone cooking up some grub and people not paying attention. So, but maybe cones will do it. A suit of armor, I don't know.
Our current insurance is right now 1 million, 2 million, 2 million aggregate and 1 million each occurrence is what I have right now. Well, I could contact my company, see, temporarily if I could get it. But they're working, yeah, I guess they're working. The insurance people are working, so.
Jeff, what do you think?
Is that a number out of thin air? Is that a number out of thin air, or is 1, 2 okay for 2 weeks?
that's really not my call. as much as it is the board's call. I just know that when you're, and it's not Charlie that's high risk, that area is high risk.
Yeah.
If I were Charlie and I was operating there, I'd want to bump that insurance anyway for a couple of weeks because you're kind of, as Renee said, you're in high risk territory. And it's not a number I made up. It's a common number to have in these kind of insurance add-on situations.
Okay, thank you.
And Gary offered to check the certificate when Charlie brings it into us. So that ought to be subject, the certificate ought to be subject to Gary's review and approval.
Okay. And that was part of my motion, was to make it subject to Gary's review and approval. We have a motion on the floor. Any other comments from the board? Okay, then I'll ask for a vote.
Did we get a second?
Lily seconded it.
Okay, yeah, okay. Trustee Keating?
Can't hear you,
Yeah.
Dan.
Hear you, Dan.
Oh, Keating, aye.
Trustee Lampier?
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
That's our eye.
Motion passes.
So,
All right.
hey, so who has
All
the
right, I would
action items coming out of this? And sorry, my dogs are freaking out. So, Jeff, you're going to call the DOT? Or is that something we do?
No, I'm not.
Okay, is that a Bob thing?
I don't know who's got the contact.
Dorothea will talk to
Who's got
Gary
the contact?
Wilkins.
Okay, so Dorothy's gonna run with that with Gary and I assume tomorrow. The other action item is Charlie's going to talk to his insurance people about going from 2 to 5. What are the other action items?
I'll call DOT, Dan.
Yeah, the other item would be Charlie and I meet to make sure that he's comfortable with that spot.
Right.
I was just gonna say that, Steve. Thank you. I was gonna suggest that if we come by tomorrow and I'll take a look at where you're talking about and like I said, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys, but I definitely I will and then I'll call the insurance company. I don't think that's gonna be a problem, but.
And then we need to get him some homes for if he is able to open up. And I think, so we need to have Zach drop those off at some point once we know that this is a go.
Okay.
There's a $500 deposit required by our code, which is to protect the sales tax that we're required to collect. And it's not really a sales tax. It's a percentage of sales as related to our property tax rate.
Okay. All right.
Who can get him that calculation so he knows?
I can handle the calculation with him. It's basically, it's $4.72 per $1,000 earned.
Oh, geez. I'll be lucky if I do that in a week.
So it's not very complicated.
Hey, you may be the only game in town. You really.
100.
That's one sausage, Charlie.
I think he's underestimating how much people need to get out and get hot dogs right now.
Well,
I will buy one extra hot dog a week.
So, and the village is counting on you for that extra revenue. So get out there and sell.
I'll be out there hawking them like crazy. There you go.
I expect to collect a whole $10.
You got it. Thank you so much. Steve, I'll contact you in the morning. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you
Okay.
all. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right.
Charlie.
Thanks.
All right, next item is the speed limit concerns on State Street in particular. Yep.
Hey guys, of all the things we've done on the village board, that was among my favorite. Solving
I
that
think
problem.
that was creative thinking.
Let's
That's
make
all
the
Steve,
next thing on
nice.
your second favorite thing to do.
What's that, John?
I said, let's make the next item your second favorite thing.
Okay, all right, okay. Pleasing you would make me happy.
Me too.
Okay, so let's talk about speeding on State Street. We know it's awful. We know that, we all saw the accident that happened a couple weeks ago on Saturday morning. John called me up, a telephone pole was cut in two and a tree was taken out. The driver went up on one side of the road and on the other side. And it's interesting because I put a Facebook post up and I got a lot of people outside of Pittsford, saying, there's nothing wrong with going too fast. But I think if we polled village residents, I think every village resident would agree that speeding is a problem there. I think there's two things we can talk about today. The first is enforcement. Renee is our point person with the county sheriff's department, so I'm going to give Renee the floor and see if you want to say anything, Renee.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know the background of this action item, so I didn't prepare anything, but I will talk. So I haven't talked to the sheriff's department. I'm in regular contact with them just to anytime that there is a crash, anytime that residents let us know that there's a speeding issue, and they dispatch somebody to monitor an area and issue tickets and citations. They've been parked in front of the fire station a lot. Most of the people on here know that I live on the other side on Monroe and experience similar speeding as we're on the other side of the other gateway. And so I have noticed that they've been stationed at the fire station to catch people on this side of the Four Corners. But I'm not prepared because I didn't know the background of this action item.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Renee, but I think what we could do is just request additional enforcement in the stretch, because I've walked down there several times and it's crazy how fast people are coming into the village because there's no traffic to slow them down.
And if anyone, I know a lot of the neighbors are on this call, if you can let me know that one of the things that Captain DeLaser said that it would be great if he can park in somebody's driveway, because it's really, it's very narrow there. So if you're willing to allow a deputy to sit there to kind of monitor.
Yes, Lindsey Graham speaking,
well,
yes.
Mr. Mayor, can I start speaking on this?
I don't know who that is.
We need to have your name and address, though. Who is that? Who wished to speak?
Lindsey Graham.
Hey,
Hello?
I wanted to speak. Hi, I don't know if you can hear me.
Lindsay, you have the floor.
It's Art Curious.
Okay. I hope the traffic whizzing by at way over the speed limit isn't too loud. Hey, I would be happy to have a deputy or whomever park in my driveway. And
Lindsay, what's your house address?
oh yeah, sorry, Lindsey Graham, 65 State Street, and that's in Pittsford. And so anything I can do to help. And plus, when I went out to videotape, Art didn't know if he could get a videotape, so I did a couple videotapes that I uploaded to YouTube and provided to Art, which I think he's going to try to provide. I'm not sure how. But, or maybe I can if I can share my screen. I think I can. But anyway, after Art speaks, I might be able to share my screen to show the videos. But when I'm out there videotaping, some of them did slow down. So maybe I should just stand out there and videotape. Just joking. All right.
And Lindsay, I'm ready to speak when you're done.
I'm done.
Right, thank you. This is Art. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Art.
Well, first of all, Lindsay, thanks for going out in the cold, and yes, you have a video there. But I think everybody can see on screen since the start of the trustees meeting tonight, the volume of traffic, and more importantly, the speed in which they've been traveling constantly east and west along State Street. This has been going on for multiple years, starting way back when with the DOT, the Sheriff's Department, the village, the town, everybody you can speak about. It's out of control. We need specific action. The most critical immediate action that can be taken.
You're fading out, Art.
On this side. all due respect to Renee, it's great that you have it on Monroe Avenue, but there's a lot of different factors there. Number one, the speed is not as fast. There's not as many people are approaching, coming into the village, coming up. When they get up to the canal, they're speeding eastbound down all the way through out to the limits of the village. Coming into the village, here again, they're coming 45 miles an hour from the east. They do not stop until they get to the bridge, as evidenced by every single minute you've been witnessing, and it's on recording. The speed at which these cars are coming through are much faster than the 30, and we're asking for a 25. So if you do the basic calculations, probably 15 to 20 miles over a reasonable speed. If Brooke, I think, has had some speed gun calculations.
Art, you are very hard to hear. Art,
You keep fading out, Art.
Art, can you move the microphone closer to, or get in a quieter place, because you're very
the
hard
quieter
to hear.
place is because of the outside, so that's another factor. You can hear the speed in which the cars are coming around the corner. That's exactly why the video and the audio is there, to document firsthand in this hearing.
Art, right now we can't hear you, so I know you're trying to make a point, but right now we can't hear you. So can you go to a place that's quieter, or call from a phone or something?
And I think I heard him say that I didn't mean to compare the two or diminish what Art was trying to say. I was when I was talking about being on another gateway. I didn't mean to diminish his feelings about the speeding on his section of the
I
road.
don't know. It didn't come across that way, Lindsey Graham. It didn't come across that way.
I know Brooke, we have Brooke on the line, and she did have a radar gun that she borrowed from somebody, and we wrote it up on Walk Like Pittsford. And we know that it's not completely accurate because it's not calibrated for the, so we know that, but it's still a good barometer. I don't remember if you have some of those speeds.
Yeah, is it okay if I talk? This is Brooke Fossey.
Yep, go ahead, Brooke, you have the floor.
But I won't read them all right now. I don't want to take up too much time. It sounds like we're mostly on the same page, but I will share the speed limit. So I sat out with a neighbor's speed gun, and yes, it's a scientific survey, but I was waiting for the school bus like last year. So I'd wait like 10 minutes sitting on the front stoop, and the speed was in 10 minutes. And yes, there were some, but it wasn't, the speeds were 40, 45, 46, 48, 49. And that's almost 20 over the speed limit. And that will kill somebody in the road.
That's incredible. That really is incredible. Two other tools that we have that we haven't discussed yet. One is the speed sentry. Do we have access to a speed sentry, Zach? Zach, you gotta, yeah.
Yeah, we have a speed sentry, but we don't have a permit from the DOT to put it up on a state road.
Well, can we get a permit?
Yeah, but we would have to install the proper pole, the base. It's kind of a big process to be able to do so. We have to show a detail of what we would be using out there.
Well, I think we're gonna need it, given the severity of the problem. I think I mean, obviously there's not a silver bullet here, but we're gonna have to use every tool we have. So I would say we probably want to get that underway. Does everybody agree with that?
Zach, this is Trustee Stetzer again. The Sheriff's Department also has those that we can borrow. Do you know what the parameters are for borrowing from them?
From what I understand, the ones that they would have to lend out are the tow behind speed sentries that would be sitting on the side of the road. So it'd have to sit in the right of way.
On a trailer, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that might help reduce speeds, which wouldn't give us a good indication of the speeding because people would slow down. So I forgot about that. Okay, so that's
Can you hear me now? Better? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
we
we
hear
can
who?
hear you.
This Art?
Yeah.
Yeah, Art, we can hear you now.
All right, thank you very much. So I apologize for that. So I moved inside. I think the video and the audio shows something about
Art,
walking up.
hang on. Art, it's Lindsay. Hang on one second. Do you have us both on a computer and a telephone right now? Because I'm hearing you
I
echo.
just muted his computer, and
Okay,
so
thanks.
now he's just
Okay.
on a phone.
Okay,
And so
great.
let's just, Art, you can now try it now. No.
He's muted. He's muted.
No. His.
I think he left. I think he might have hung up. I just saw caller 3. I don't know if that was him. Somebody hung up. You want to
This is
unmute him
the-
real quick just to
I
see?
did not leave on here.
This is John Limb.
Can you hear me now?
Art is here. Let's listen to Art.
Okay, go ahead.
Here again, I apologize for that. So here again, real quickly, well beyond a speed limit that's really reasonable to the village. There certainly is documented. It's well beyond 30 decibel. It's constant. And with that, all due respect with any communication, here again.
Art, again, we can't hear you at all. So why don't you call in from a telephone, from a landline, and nobody can hear you. So I'm going to mute you, and let's move on to the next caller, which is or who was next? John Limbeck.
I just wanted to make a comment about the speed sentry. We did that 3 years ago. And we found that without the enforcement to go along with it, it proved to be very ineffective. The people saw it for a couple of days, they slowed down, and then they sped right back up because there was no consequence for it.
Yeah, and we don't have a crosswalk there. I mean, one of the things that the mayor has been trying to get the DOT to put back is the crosswalk that would, because then we could put one of the pedestrian signs there, which does help. I mean, those pedestrian signs get hit, but it's something in the road and it does help slow people down.
I'm afraid
Renee, if I could add to what you're saying, there should be 2 crosswalks, one at Shane Place, one at Durham Way, both with yield to pedestrian signs. Because again, it's changing the physical environment and giving the drivers that enter the village visual cues that this is supposed to be a slower speed area. It would also help with the people that hit the bridge and then they gun it as they leave the village, because they'd have to pass 2 yield signs as they're leaving. The other thing that would help would be to restripe the travel lanes back just to 10 feet from the 11 or 12 feet that they are now.
Right, so what?
Bob, can you hear me now?
Do we have anything in our?
Yes, now we can hear you, Art.
All right, thank you. So I apologize, but technology isn't my forte with the audio. So long and short, picking up what Brooke had stated, what Lindsay has stated, with the speeds, it's just unconscionable. Here again, the DOT, the Sheriff's Department for years, all due respect for Renee, why in the world, if the Sheriff's Department has known for years, literally years, and you've been in communication with them on a regular basis, that it's amazing to me that this did not come to the sheriff's attention, or no slight on you, but that you never brought it to the attention about all this traffic on this side of town when this has been spoken about for months and years. That boggles my mind, number one. Number two is the key way to slow the traffic is law enforcement. The sheriff knows that, we know that, all representatives know it, but yet we don't have it. As far as parking in driveways, we offered that up years ago to the sheriff, months ago to the sheriffs. Mike, I think it's the Deputy Favada, I think is his name. He came and went. There was no passing on to the person that you're talking to. I have never heard of him. I don't know if anybody on this side of the canal has ever heard of him. Sidewalks are important to the village. We heard it. It's part of the comprehensive plan. People talk about traffic. Nothing is done. The first step, immediate step, and there's no reason in the world I can't understand why a sheriff cannot be, has not been in our driveways randomly every other day, weekly, so that it gets out onto the streets that you cannot speed anywhere in the village of Pittsford. It boggles my mind. And I don't think there's any excuse for it, quite frankly. The neighbors have had enough of it. This is not an appropriate village-like with something can be done, but there's every excuse in the world, here again, for years and no action whatsoever.
Art, this is Trustee Keating. I hear you on that, and I thank you for raising it and for raising the alarm. I do want to gently push back. I'm not sure why you're singling out Trustee Stetzer, who is trying to help and is a real advocate.
Excuse me, Dan, it is
hold
not
on.
an attack
I'm
against,
talking.
Dan, let me finish. It is not an attack.
Let
It's a
you finish.
fact.
I'm talking.
It boggles my mind. Dan,
Okay,
please
Art,
let me finish.
Art, I was
Let me
talking.
finish.
Let
me finish, please.
You interrupted
You make
me.
Let Art finish.
Dan,
Let Art
Dan,
finish.
you make an accusation which is totally out of line. I did not attack Renee. It was a very strong, very adamant, very specific, acceptable, legitimate question on why the sheriff's department, with whom a trustee has been in contact with on a regular basis, and I didn't bring that to the table here, why has this not been to the attention of the sheriff's department, and more specifically, action taken on that specific comment and concern about this side of town? That boggles my mind. And as a side note, offside of this, but real quickly, if I might, I don't have to have an answer now, but it boggles my mind, and I don't understand. Maybe there's a technicality why, Dan, you abstained from meeting minute votes last trustees meeting and this one. It's just a curious thing. And by the way, I just saw a sheriff speed by here. There was no siren on or anything. The sheriffs are in the area. We see them all the time. We see them at the fire stations. Why are they parking at this fire station in the center of the village where the traffic is going slow, number one? Parking on the other side of the canal, people are coming into the village up a hill. That's why they're going at a slower speed. It just boggles my mind, and there is no excuse why there has not been an action. And
Okay.
And do not turn this into an attack into Renee Stetzer. I, for one, who adore her beyond words, Lindsey Graham speaking, didn't hear an attack. And so I don't hear the slice attack of Renee Stetzer. And Art minced his words and chose them carefully. So, Dan Keating, please don't turn this into that. Let's discuss the subject at hand. Please.
No,
Okay,
and I think, I don't think
hold
any
on,
of us
guys.
have to be defensive about Art's comments. I think, because over the years, we have repeatedly gone, usually several times a year, to bring this issue of this stretch of the road up with the sheriff's department. Sometimes they've been more receptive than others. Other times they have bluntly told us, well, speed enforcement isn't a priority for us because we have more important things to do. So I think it is an accurate criticism that Art has landed, but I don't think any of us need to take it defensively. I think we do have an urgency because this is a life safety issue before someone gets hurt or worse, to try to get some serious enforcement on that stretch of road.
And it is, Art, to answer your question, it is on their radar screen. We provided a list to them right after I got joined the board. And they have a list of the hot spots. They have a list of neighbors who have offered up, Brooke is one of them, to give their driveway, because on these stretches of road, it's hard for them to catch people from certain vantage points. So they do go out, they send out deputies when they can. We don't have a designated deputy for the village. So we're sharing resources, and I agree with you. It's a huge problem, and this is one of the reasons that I ran to be a trustee, and it's extremely frustrating. So I hear you. It's a problem, and you said it's not on their radar screen. It is on their list.
Well, Renee, I appreciate everything you've said, but we've heard that for months and years. They just don't show up. We're not talking sitting out here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, not even 20 minutes. Sit out here 15 minutes randomly. You don't even have to be in a park in a driveway, although we have offered that up specifically, a number of the neighbors. Number two, you have Durham Way right down here visible that can catch traffic east and west. There's no excuse why they're not out here. Yes, their resources are low, but they're sitting in the fire station with their resources at that time. And again, 15 minutes every other day, 15 minutes, 3 days a week. Yet people need to see that there is a sheriff and enforcement of the law. That does not exist, number one. Plus, there's no other public. We even talked about, can't you publicize, start enforcing, do the random 15 minutes every other day or every 3 days, and then publish in the papers, get it out to the press that the police are starting to control and enforce law. It's the law. It's a speed limit, for God's sake. That's what they're paid to do. I'm not demonizing what they do with their workload and everything that goes along with it. But it's nothing, zero has been done for years. And all due respect, again, you've been talking to them. It's on their radar. It's on their list. Again, why can't you be out here for 15 minutes?
Can I chime in, Art, as somebody who advocates for a living? So what I understand, what I'm hearing from both sides, I know and see and witness and watch Renee's deep concern, and that's of course why she's our trustee, because others saw the same. So that's no doubt, right? So putting that aside and knowing that, advocacy takes a ton of work, and that we're on their radar really does mean nothing. And that's not a slam against Renee. I am an advocate as a living, and I have to drip for things that just go without saying need to be done. You got to check the great brake pads. You're gonna have to give it, and I have to make sometimes 7 calls a day, or somebody on my team does, to see what is the wear of that Audi's brake pads, and so if I didn't do that, or my team didn't do that 10 times a day, we would never get the brake pad wear, and somebody would get a $50,000 Audi and then have to replace brake pads in the first 6 months. So these dealerships are slammed, just like police officers are slammed. But the reality is, unless you drip and keep calling or assign somebody to keep calling, if you want that to be me, I can be assigned to do it. I don't know as a trustee if I'm allowed to do that. I sure do know how to drip, though. And so without dripping, and they call me the most relentless person they've ever met, and that's why I've been hired endlessly for the last 10 years, is if you're not relentless, it's going to go on another 2-3 years by no fault of Renee's or anybody's. It's just not going to happen.
And here again, Lindsay, once again, this was not an attack against Renee. All
No,
I
I know. No, I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't.
Where she's doing it on a regular basis.
No, I know.
There is still nowhere. Where are our
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I see your hand, Brooke. I'll get to you.
And wait, one more thing I want to add. One more thing I want to add, and I'm totally done, is that with relentless action to the police department right now, this can get done, but without relentless action, that's why I'm volunteering. I will give my time if it needs a personality like mine, which may seem annoying right now, but the reality is I get things done. And so,
but Lindsay, where are the other representatives? Where are the county representatives and the state representatives?
And oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to say. If we can sit here, if Dan Keating can sit here, and this is not a criticism of Dan, I just saw Dan in action saying, what are our action steps for Charlie the hot dog man? Okay, so the action steps are those that he listed, and I really admired how he listed it so that this can get done for Charlie. We need some specific action steps outlined for how we can get somebody out there, not on their agenda, not on their radar, but somebody out there starting this week. Do we need somebody to die? Was this accident not big enough? You know? So, okay, I'm done.
Well spoken.
May I chime in?
Brooke had her hand up for a long time, so I want to give her an opportunity to speak.
I'm not going to repeat things, but I mean, I think what Lindsay just said about having specific action items is something that everyone on our street feels like we need now, because we are, you can tell from people's tones, and we are like at the end of our rope and don't know who can help us. We've asked a lot of people for help, and everyone keeps basically saying there's nothing that can be done. It's a state road. Okay. I think we need like short term, which is we need to really contact the sheriff. And I don't know a good number to call, which is something I was going to ask if Renee knew a contact that's not calling 911, that's calling, you know, if who we would be allowed to contact regularly. It's a problem now. Please, you know, I'm seeing a really big uptick. So that's my first question is there a contact that we can all have, that we can all reach out to? I know probably they don't want to give that up, but maybe they do as public servants.
753-4370.
Okay, thanks, John.
Who said that? And can you say it again?
753-4370 is the Zone A non-emergency number.
Okay, and additionally, Lindsay speaking without hand up, but I'm best friends from high school and still friends today with a guy very high up. And when I want to get things done for other things, not for this, I've gotten it done. I didn't want to overstep my boundaries, but I do know and probably could get it done if I'm allowed.
Why don't we have every neighbor on the street call the number that John just gave out?
And people who are not on the street, Trustee Lanfear.
Right.
May I be recognized?
Bob, can I answer that quickly? That's
Yeah.
nice, but it might happen once. They're not going to be pleased with that. And we need, as Lindsay summed up, we need an action plan. And as Dan said for Charlie again, and it's great to think, okay, let's be creative. How can we make it work for Charlie, who's been here for 10 years? Well, a lot of the residents have been here more than 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then even the newer ones on the block. I would think that this is, and all, you know, it's great to be concerned about your businesses in the town, and I have in Village, I have just as much respect, and I think, yes, being creative to help Charlie out is a great thing. We're talking a public safety thing, a lifestyle, a life standard of living situation here. To Lindsay's point, we need creativity, we need an immediate action plan and a long-term plan.
How about for short term, to really get the sheriff's attention, why don't we invite the captain to a special meeting of the village board, including all of you, to have a discussion of how we're going to solve this problem? Because the only way we can solve it with enforcement is have the sheriff's department fully engaged, which they have not been.
Bob, I appreciate that. I agree with it and I support it. Being a little skeptical, that's where Deputy Bavada went. We met him and Nancy's. She was kind enough to hold it at her house, in her boathouse. It was all positive. We'll do the best we can, and then never heard from him again.
Well,
so
that's why
we got to move forward, and I appreciate and I support your suggestion.
We interrupted.
We do it not with a deputy, but we do it with the captain.
And we do it formally. This is a formal suggestion, whereas in Nancy's boathouse, that's unfortunately informal. So hopefully this is more formal. Not saying it shouldn't have worked when you had them.
Did Brooke get to finish? Brooke, were you done with yours?
One other question. I wondered if Renee, if the sheriff ever shares how many tickets are issued in Pittsford with you. I've occasionally over the last year seen the sheriff out here. One time I can think of in the last year up by where you're out of the village. And they were just like warning people. There weren't tickets, and it was also mostly just like sitting there, and then people would slow down when they saw the sheriff. They weren't actually doing anything, you know, like it feels like not enough, I think, to the people who watch it happening day in and day out. That's all I wanted to end with for now.
They do not, they put out a crime report, and unfortunately they don't put out a speeding ticket or even a crash report. I have to ask every time there's a crash, I have to ask for the individual reports. So they don't put together, unfortunately, a report of the weekly crashes. I wish they did, or the weekly tickets.
Look, all four of us.
John had a question.
Who had a question?
John has had his hand up.
John, go ahead, John.
I've got three very quick points to make. In terms of the sheriffs, I've been working every day, and I go down to 12 corners. And when I come home between 3 and 4, 4 days out of 5, there are 2 or 3 sheriffs sitting down in front of Sutherland Auto talking. And they
Right.
could very easily be sitting in any one of our driveways. Second of all, we've got a very unique opportunity right now because next year the state's going to be spending oodles of money on State Street and on the bridge. And when we spoke with Dave Gehring, who had no sympathy for our cause because he didn't have the funds, he told us that if the municipalities got behind this, it would be much easier. I think that if we throttle the lanes and if we put a physical barrier at the eastern end of the village line there where people have to slow down to get past that structure in the road. And you know what? Put the can in there if you want. But we need something in the road. We need the lanes throttled. And we need that done while they're spending a couple $1 million on State Street. A year ago, I tried to enlist the support of Rich Funky. I was told by his office in April that our cause and our little neighborhood group did not warrant his attention and we would not hear from him. They were going to have a staffer call me. I waited 8 weeks, called them. Oh, that person has been on vacation. They'll call you tomorrow. I have yet to hear from his office. So we've talked with the sheriffs. If you're going to have a meeting with the sheriffs, I don't think they're going to find the resources to do it. You can invite the captain from Zone A. We've done that for the last 6 years. Maybe you need to get Todd Baxter out here, and maybe we have to have a meeting here while people are going by at 50 miles. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
It's not a bad idea to have them in witness what is going on.
I'm sorry, I can't raise my hand, but I wanted to say that the four of us from the neighborhood who are all talking, none of us, I would say, have ever seen anybody arrested. I've only been around 3 years, but we're outside all the time. Brooke's outside all the time, more than anybody. And then the 3 others of us are outside all the time. And all of everybody else in this meeting, trustees, have driven around our village for years. And have you, Rob Corby, ever seen somebody arrested for speeding in our village ever?
I have, not on State Street.
Okay, how many times would you say? I mean, we don't need the police reports would be nice. Brooke's question was a great one. And it's occurring to me that you might know, is it 1 a year? 1 every 2 years?
Well,
that
we
you've
have
seen?
we have no idea because we don't get
No,
that
that
we
you've
don't
seen.
get those.
No, that
Oh.
you've seen, that you've
Well,
witnessed. You're outside all the
last time
time.
I saw someone get pulled over was probably either in January or February of this year.
Okay.
And that was
And
on
then-
Monroe Avenue. That was
and
on
then-
Monroe Avenue.
Okay, and then when before that? Like, is it once or twice a year that you see somebody get arrested as much as you're out and about? I'm talking about in the
Probably-
village.
I would say average 3
Pulled
times
over
a year.
or arrested? I don't, do you just mean pulled
Pulled.
over for speeding?
Ticketed.
Pulled over, sorry.
Okay, that's different.
Pulled
You mean
over.
pulled over and ticketed.
Yes, arrest means in French anyway, stopped. So that's what I meant. Sorry. I
Yeah.
take that word a little too literally. Yes, pulled
Lily?
over and stopped.
Lily, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is Trustee Lanfear. Previously, yes, there was a woman sheriff who was quite visible in the village. I'm going to say it was about 3 years ago, and she was very proactive stopping people. A lot of people complained because she was giving tickets left and right, especially up around Sutherland. So I wonder who that sheriff was, and if she's still around, I'd like to contact her. Additionally, about I think it was about 4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, we had foot patrol, Bridget and Brad, and they walked the village, and they were there every other day, and they would take a different section of the village, and just to be visible, they would park their car and they would walk a beat. And I would like to know what happened to Bridget and Brad, and I'd like them to come back. And I would use those names specifically because we know that we had them. I wondered why they were removed. And Art is absolutely right, or John is absolutely right, in that there are sheriffs sitting either at Sutherland or at the fire department almost every day, just chatting with one another, taking their break, to which they are entitled. But I would strongly suggest to the sheriff's department that they take their break on State Street, farther down. There's no reason why they can't do that. And just the fact that they're sitting there is going to be a deterrent. And I think it's at least a start. And I would like to see us definitely pursue, even as difficult as it is and problematic as it is, the speed, because it does, the speed sign,
Reduction.
it flashes. Yes, I think we're going to need several tools in order to get on top of this and to be relentless, as Lindsay has indicated. And as I know the State Street residents have been, because I've been to meetings over the last few years, and I know that this is ongoing. It existed 30 years ago. It has not changed. So that is very frustrating. I understand that, and that this is a cause that we should absolutely get behind. We were able to reduce the speed to 20. I know because it was a village street on South, but I think that we can, if we are noisy enough and a big nuisance to them, I think that they will at least give us one of the three options that I just outlined. And I absolutely believe in the chicane that John has suggested as well. That would be number one on the list.
Okay, John, you have the floor.
One thing that I think we need to convince the DOT of, Dave Gehring, and I know Dave's gone, but he told us that the DOT does not consider State Street a residential street. And I would suggest that if you look from the new traffic light at Mitchell Road, you've got the Highlands, you've got the cottages, you've got Wood Creek, you've got Durham Way, and you've got the residents on State Street. So, I mean, there's quite a few people there. To me, it's a residence, and I don't think that's a stretch at all. So I think we need to stretch that point a lot more strenuously than we have in the past.
Well, the other thing they're ignoring, John, is we passed a complete streets resolution emphasizing the need for traffic calming and a safe pedestrian environment. They're supposed to defer to the municipality once that law has passed, and we passed that in 2011. So they need to be reminded of that. I think we also need to actively lobby to make sure that we get the street improvements that I described before as part of the bridge project.
Yeah.
Or the bridge unimprovements of the street unimprovements, about taking apart a portion of the asphalt to expose the brick beneath and create our opposite speed bump. But if you do, I don't want to call them speed impediments, but that's exactly what they would be. DOT would have a fit, but we could lobby for that. Call it, we're trying to restore our historic ambiance, and we want to expose some of our brick streets. It's under there, you know, it's under there.
It might keep people awake at night, though.
Right. Thanks for Bob. And Linda,
I don't think.
This is Art again. We can always hear there's a lot of potholes that come and go over the years, over the seasons. And by the way, I compliment the village DPW. They've been I think that they assist the state on filling potholes. Anytime that I called in over the winter months, they've been more than responsive, and it's so greatly appreciated. I also like to throw out the New York State DOT pothole number. Those people there, they manage it quite well. So there's a kudos to the village, obviously DPW and the staff, as well as that department there with the DOT. Getting back what John had said about talking to Gehring, yeah, that's very disappointing here. Again, that's where I was referring about years ago. We talked about it. And part of this is the fact that you can lower, and it'd be great if you went from 30 to 25 or 24 State Street. But the thing is, people, to John's point, they start down at the Highlands. They see 45 coming from the east heading towards the west. Literally, everybody's familiar, I think, with the speed zone or speed limit ahead sign or lower speed limit, whatever it is, at the end of Highlands there. Literally, if you're going 45 west from the east, you literally have to take your foot off the gas and coast. And by time you get to the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on State Street, you are a little more than 30 miles an hour. I'm certain nobody takes their foot off the gas until they get well into the village and halfway, if not all the way down State Street. So that sign, that speed limit sign of 45 does not help anybody. And conversely, coming from the canal heading east, they're at the top of the canal. They know they can come down 30 and they're going to be hitting 45 pretty soon. So they're gunning it. So that speed limit of 45, to John's point, where the DOT sees that stretch of road is rural, just because of houses are set back and there are trees along there. That blew our mind, but that's exactly what they told us. So to Bob, to your point, if in fact there is some kind of legislation that gives jurisdiction over to the village, that would be phenomenal. And that's one of those not immediate steps, but as we work towards, and to John's point, well in advance of, so when they're doing all of these improvements, they can be done next year, including the throttling down of the traffic with the median at the end of the town. And I know the fire department and other emergency vehicles, et cetera, express concern about that. But quite frankly, they have to deal with the center of the village. They deal with all the restrictions of the village when there's an emergency. And they seem to be doing their job quite efficiently in that. I don't think coming down with a mountable curb for a median would negatively impact them getting into an emergency situation. So, thank you.
Dan, you have the floor.
Yeah, so real quick, I've heard a ton of action items come out of this, a ton of ideas. So I've captured a whole bunch of ideas, and if you're not measuring it, you're not improving it. So we have a good list, and now we as a team have to execute on that list and see what we can accomplish. And how we communicate that list, particularly with the four of you, with the community at large is important, but the four of you have been very vocal about it and understandably engaged about it. So it's my commitment to you to keep you in the loop by email and then in person and then at upcoming meetings. But first thing was hearing all of you, and I know we've heard you before, but we heard you this time again, captured those action items, and now it's our call to execute on them. And we're not going to be able to execute on all of them. There were some ideas there that we just don't have the money for, and we're going to have to get creative to be able to execute on as many of those as possible. So just wanted to let you guys know that you've been heard, and more than that, action will come out of this. I can't promise everything, but I can promise that we'll list everything and take whatever action.
This is my hand up when you're done, because I don't have that option on my telephone.
Go ahead, Lindsay, you have the floor.
Okay, so that, thank you, Dan, but that to me seems dismissive, because it seems like there's no relentless action in, I mean, if relentless is the word, we've got to have two. There were a lot of ideas, and as I listened to John saying why some of them wouldn't work, and he's got a lot of experience in why they wouldn't work, and as I listened to Art saying why certain things wouldn't work, and he's got a lot of experience in witnessing that they haven't worked, I don't think we have a lot of action items. So I would like to so that I feel like we've gotten somewhere and not being dismissed. Oh, I'll circulate an email, which sounds dismissive to me, not proactive. I want to hear, like we did with Charlie and the hot dog stand, what two next actions are going to be taken. And am I going to should I call my contact with the sheriff's department and ask who's going to call? There's no money involved that I can see, on because we dismissed putting up the speed limit as not being an effective useful tool right now, because people will just ignore it. We've got to get people arrested.
I don't think we've ruled that out. I think we're adding that to the list as well, Lindsay. I don't think we said we shouldn't put that.
Okay, well, how are we going to get people ticketed? How are we going to get people ticketed?
This is a multi-pronged approach, and I mean, we know that the best way to slow people down is through design, and those are the things we were talking about earlier that are expensive and that we're trying to get in place when this when the bridges project goes it gets underway next year. We're trying to get what we can put in place then. Those are very costly, and that's the best way.
And it sounds like it's not going to happen. I mean,
no, hold
sorry,
on.
Very costly sounds like not going to happen. Seriously.
Can you let me finish, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Those are the most expensive things. Those are the most effective. So, putting the chicane, putting, all of these things that we can do are longer term. They're not something we can put in place tomorrow. Enforcement is the second best way. So we're talking about getting, I heard the mayor say, getting Captain DeLicer in a special meeting with all of the neighbors. I think that's a good idea. I will take that action item, as well as communicating that the neighbors have expressed that this needs to happen on a daily basis, that they need someone to rotate there. And those
Every
two,
other day. Every other day even. Sorry, finish. Sorry.
So those two action items I will take, and those are immediate things that we can do with the sheriff's department as far as enforcement goes. I don't know what we have at our disposal for design things. I wish we could put something out in the road. If we could put temporary bollards, that would make people slow down. I don't know, Bob, you have more experience with
We'd
this.
have to talk to DOT and get approval from DOT. I don't think they have under New York State traffic law, they have yet permitted things like in other places. I've seen cones in the middle of the road that slow people down. I don't think we've talked to DOT about that in the past. They won't allow that. If we had the crosswalks in place, we could at least get the yield signs out there, but we don't even have that right now. So I think we need to keep lobbying to do all of that. John.
Just two quick points. I think we've all expressed our frustrations, but at least on my part, and I know the other neighbors, we're still willing to work on it. We've talked with the sheriffs. Let's talk to them again. We've talked to DOT. Let's talk to them again. And one thing I approached the village on a couple of years ago, and again, it's an enforcement thing, but if you guys, and I don't know if this is the mayor, the building inspector, or the attorney, but if we could outlaw Jake breaks, that'd be something at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to hear a tractor trailer coming in at 50 miles an hour hitting a Jake brake in front of my house. So, again, that's something we'd have to enforce, but it's another sign to put just before you get to the village that you can't do it anymore, guys. So thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, John.
Okay, well, to finish my thought, so thank you, Renee, for a couple of action items. That feels a lot better to know that there's 2 action items. And I would just also suggest to anybody who takes us by the horns, if somebody says, yeah, we'll put it on the radar, or yeah, as John was talking about, yeah, we'll call you back and never heard back. It's okay, when do I expect the call, and when should I call you again if I haven't heard, so that I don't keep calling you knowing that I'm on your radar? So it's kind of like a little funny trick of words to make them feel like they really care, even if they don't care maybe necessarily as much as we do.
Are you referring to the sheriffs or one of us? I can't tell, and you're just to be clear. Do you want?
Well, John was mentioning somebody who didn't wind up ever calling back, and so that was that, and so life happens, and so that's how years go by, right? And so I applaud John for making the calls. I'm just saying, I am saying, when will I hear back from you, and then putting it on the calendar for 3 days later to call again and say, I haven't heard back from you. Again, I'm volunteering for any of these follow-up calls. I'm not asking somebody to do all the work. If somebody says, well, I called X and I didn't hear back, I'll be happy to call X and I will hear back, because I'll see to it that I hear back.
I do know that Captain DeLicer said it's very effective when citizens call in as well.
Great.
So I know that's a pain in the butt.
I'm happy to do it. Can you circulate? Can you email us, or however you do things? The number?
Yes, and John just gave the number out as well.
Right, I'm walking, so I couldn't commit it to memory.
So do you want
Can I ask you a simple question? I'm sorry to interrupt, and I can't wait because I'm trying to document all the fast traffic coming by. But can I ask you a simple question? And I appreciate saying to call the sheriff's department, but let's think about it. They're going to get a call. What are we going to say? They're speeding on our street. Well, they know that. We've been communicating that to them. Renee, you're going to communicate that to them. What does a phone call do to me to raise any of their urgency to get out here? It's the whole thing of having a program in place for code enforcement, for speed control enforcement. Seriously, what do you expect them to do if they pick up the phone and Art Pierce says they're speeding on my street? What do we really expect of the sheriff's department at that point?
Well, so I wouldn't call as Lindsay, I wouldn't call and say they're speeding on my street. I would say, what action items do we need to do along with the trustees who care in our community?
No.
and
That's
our
what I'm
neighbors?
saying.
What do we?
Lindsay,
Yeah.
Lindsay, I'm sorry. It's not you. It's
Okay.
to the point where we're told call in and keep calling them. My question is, if you were in the sheriff's department and put yourself in their shoe, what do we think they're going to do? Okay, I have a call from Lindsay, I have a call from Art, I have a call from whatever. Do you really think they're going to jump up and run over here and start patrolling?
No,
What
I
do we
would
really expect?
I would ask them. I would be very specific with my requests.
Oh, okay.
If I called them,
What was that?
I would say
What would
I
that be?
would. Okay, so for example, if I were assigned, and I don't know who's assigned, but whoever's assigned, I'll respect that. And if I'm assigned, I'll do it. But to find out who those people were that Lily mentioned, and how do we get people like that back, and why it's important, and I would have a conversation with them. I would schedule a conversation with somebody who is a decision maker, and I would see how we could implement things immediately. Now, right now is the time to get things implemented because they're not chasing down people out of bars, and they're not doing other things right now as much as they have been doing other things because everything's closed. So
Right.
they're not as busy.
Let me give Brooke a chance to speak. She's had her hand up for a while.
Okay, I just had two quick things. I think it's going to be really important for us to find someone at DOT who is going to be an ally, because every single person I have talked to at DOT comes and says, no, it's not possible. And they're all about getting people through quickly. And I don't know how we find that person, but hopefully through working through the departments, we can find somebody who's going to help advocate for this, because I feel like when they were at the library and they had the open house about State Street Bridge, I brought all this up, and every single engineer I talked to just kept saying, you're changing the speed limit's not going to do anything. People are going to drive as fast as they're going to drive on the road, which is true. And I said, well, let's redesign the road. And they said, basically, they want to get people through fast enough. And so it was like this catch-22 of, we're not going to do anything. And that's really what does need to happen down the road. We need a small median. We need a gateway. We need to narrow the lanes.
Yeah.
And that. And then I just wanted to give Frank, Trustee Galusha, a shout out, because the other day I was walking the dog and everyone was speeding by, and I saw one car coming slow into the village, and I said, this is someone I know that lives here. It was Frank with like a trail of cars behind him.
Go Frank. We love Frank. So listen, all I'm saying is right now it seems like because of the expenses that Renee and Dana mentioned, that and because of the fighting against DOT, like it's like fighting against the man. I don't know how quickly we'll get those things done, but I appreciate what you're suggesting, Brooke, is making some arrests. When I was 30 years ago, I guess I would have been a teenager or a kid or an older kid, I guess a young adult. And I am quite sure when my family's house was still on Grosvenor Road in Brighton that I sped through Pittsford. But I can promise you that if I had gotten a ticket for doing it, now I drive like Grandma Foy. But if I had, and I have for the last 10 years, but if I had gotten a ticket, you better believe I would have never sped through Pittsford anymore. I didn't see these houses that I passed millions of times coming back from wherever as residents. I just saw them as cute houses in Pittsford.
I have one other suggestion.
So getting a ticket is it seems to me the way to go now. That's not expensive and it's very doable.
One other suggestion of something that might help us in getting more support from the Sheriff's Department. I think we should enlist the support of Supervisor Bill Smith. Have him at the public meeting with the sheriff here, and have him with DOT advocating for the changes in the roadscape on State Street with the bridge project.
Good idea, Bob.
Bob, I would suggest you reach out to Bill because I've talked to him and Bill is very careful about not stepping on village toes. So,
I will reach out to him, John. Yeah, I will.
okay. I want to thank all the trustees for listening tonight. I know you've got
Oh.
other things to discuss, but this is a huge issue for all of us. So
We
thank you.
understand. It's important to all of us. Thank you, everybody.
Justin, we got a chat that Justin had a comment. I don't know whether that's Felistra or Geb. Okay. He
That was
said,
Justin Belistra.
yeah, Justin Belistra said, may I suggest scheduling a meeting on the topic and issuing a subpoena for the police captain to attend?
Well,
That is an idea.
why would we need to subpoena him if he would volition? If he's compliant, why would we need to subpoena?
I'm sure he'll come without a subpoena.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, he's very open to meeting with us.
Right.
Thanks for the input, Justin.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's move on. We've got a few more things to get through. Next item we have is a non-municipal use permit for the Pittsford Central School District for to place signs recognizing the high school seniors who are graduating in 2020.
Are you making a motion, Bob? This is Trustee Lanfear.
I know Jeff had a question and a concern, so I'm going to let Jeff speak.
Okay.
Jeff, are you there?
I'm here. My only question is, is this a permit for the parade or just the signs?
It's for the signs and the parade.
I couldn't find any parade route. Do we have one?
The parade route is going to be identical to that of the Memorial Day parade.
Okay, so I would include in your motion whatever that, cover that, because it's not in the application materials.
I'll make a motion to approve the non-municipal use permit by the Pittsford Central School District to hold a 2020 graduation event in Pittsford, including signs located along the right-of-way on South Main Street and a parade following the route of the Memorial Day parade.
Do we have to waive the 45-day
Yes,
period?
we do, and I would include that as part of my motion. Do I have a second?
Lanfear, second.
Any discussion?
What? Where?
No question.
Okay. Dorothea, would you call for a vote, please?
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's all right.
Trustee Galusha. Oh,
Frank's muted.
Frank is
Trustee
muted.
Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier, I think you're out there. I just don't see your name.
Yeah, I'm on my phone now because I don't have the internet connection or something lost. I don't have anybody's picture, but I am here, and Lanfear, aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay.
Just going back to the holiday hots, did we need to waive the 45 days for that non-municipal use permit we granted for the sidewalk use?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think we did.
I guess we would. Can we do that in a separate motion, Jeff?
I think so. Why not?
Then I would make a motion to waive the 45-day waiting period for the non-municipal use permit granted to Holiday Hots. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Keating.
All in favor? Oh, vote. Dorothea?
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's all right.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, let's move on to the 2020-2021 tax warrant.
This is
We
just
need
a
a
standard
motion.
warrant.
Yep. Would someone like to make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 tax warrant as authorized by the village treasurer.
Lanfear,
I had a question on it. The wording in it was, I know it's standard, but the wording in it was funny. I'm just looking for it. It basically said, here's the list of people, and then it didn't include a list of people.
Because it's part of the assessment roll. That's a separate document.
Okay.
It's referring to the assessment roll.
Okay.
You don't, it's how it's always been.
Okay.
Okay.
Then fine.
All right,
Yeah.
Dorothea, would you call for a vote, please?
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's all right.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item is the continuation of the public hearing to amend the special use permit for the Pittsford pub. Where do we stand on that, Steve?
I can comment because I don't think Steve's talked to him. I did speak to the Pittsburgh pub, to the owner, and he was supposed to, Scott Thyroff, and he was supposed to get back to me. He was going to talk to the person that the event was for a wedding, and he has not gotten back to me. I'm not sure how the board wants to handle it at this point. It's part of restaurants and all the phases. I don't know. Still, that could be a month out.
I would suggest we table it for now. Jeff,
Yeah.
would you agree with that?
You can table it. That's not a problem. You know, whether or not you should is up to the board. Anything you ever did on this, I was going to suggest would be subject to whatever executive orders and health department orders that were then currently in place. So I would suggest that if you want to table it, as Bob suggests, that you continue the public hearing to the, I guess, the next trustee meeting date.
Yes. That way, if they do want to go forward with it, we won't have a delay. I'll make a motion to table.
What's that date, Dorothea, date and time?
May 26th. And it would be 7, or if you want, you can make it 6 o'clock, just in case you don't have that many agenda items.
Make a motion to table the, and continue the public hearing to amend the special use permit for the Pittsford pub for the Board of Trustee meeting on May 26th at 6 p.m.
Second that motion. Keating.
Could we call for a vote?
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
That's all right.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear,
Trustee Lampier, you died out in your vote.
oh, Lanfear, aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, next item we have is discussion on.
Bob, when you turn your head, we can't hear you for some
okay.
reason. Yeah, maybe get closer to the mic.
I'll try that. Is that better?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Okay. Hodgson Russ legal bills.
Hey, Bob, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Do you really need me for this? I mean, I'm looking at this and then the organizational meeting. I don't want to be here if you don't need
we're good,
me.
Jeff. If you want to tune out, I think you're good. Thank you.
Well, that wasn't really my point. I have a couple things I want to mention.
Oh, okay, then go ahead.
So you all got my email today on Greenlight. I
Yes,
sent the signed contract. They had it. They never forwarded it to us. Probably an oversight, hopefully. They've computed how much is due under the contract, which looks like about, according to them, $18,000. I assume that they will send the appropriate backup when they send it up or send it in. I pointed out to them that with regard to the new work, our current contract is fairly specific about where they can work. So we talked about doing an amendment to the contract to anticipate them being allowed to work as supplied by future plans or provided on future plans provided to the building inspector and village engineer. So we didn't have to modify the contract every time they wanted to expand where they went. So I think that's a good idea. I just want a sense of the board if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good to me. What jumped out at me as strange on that was that our signature line has a date field and theirs doesn't, which I just thought was so strange. So we don't know when they signed that.
I have no idea.
Yeah. But hey, if they're saying they signed it, maybe it goes into effect the minute we sign it and send it in, not when it's countersigned. I don't know. But
It doesn't matter. They took advantage of the deal. They put their stuff in. They realized they owe us the money from when they've been operating. So that's kind of that issue's over.
Yep. And that's 20,000 of found money. That's better than nothing.
Yep. So if that's okay with everybody, then we'll go down that road with a new amendment to the contract.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
No, you're just giving your attorney direction. You will eventually have to vote on the amendment, but you're just telling me what to do.
Okay.
In that regard, I would point out that this isn't really on topic, but both the village engineer and Steve are very concerned. And I think it's First Light that wants to put some more facilities into Shane Place. And I know that Scott Harder is very worried about it and is asking for some better documentation about what they want to do. And I think we ought to just stay with Steve and Scott on that and let them tell us what they need to okay that job, because it's pretty dicey down there. The right of way is very tight and there's a lot of stuff in there already. So that's just kind of an update on where we are. On the ESA, if you'll recall, the ESA goes hand in hand with the CCA. The ESA is actually how we negotiate getting the electrical supply pursuant to the CCA. I think, as I told you last time, Jewel is concerned that if we only have a 12-month look back period, we will not get any bids because the market is so crazy right now that nobody's going to dare try to bid on it. I think that there is a webinar on Friday at 9:30 for those of you who are interested in partaking of it. I have heard from the attorneys for Pittsford and Brighton, that, and I think Irondequoit, that they are not interested in going into a longer look back period than 12 months. And that seems to be constituent driven somehow. So I am thinking that at least in this go round, we're not going to get probably any bids for which we can sign an ESA. So I'm hopeful that once that happens, that we will reconsider and then, do a 24-month look back, but that isn't going on right now. And obviously we're the smallest piece of this. So without those three big towns, we probably would not be able to do an effective bidding anyway. So that's really all I've got, unless there are questions.
Actually, we had one other item, Jeff, if you would hang around for, and I want to just go back to that. I kind of skipped over it. But item number 3 is a code discussion regarding the temporary use permits in the code. I know Justin Lightgib and Justin Leistra have both sent emails out with some concerns about wording in the current code. Would either Justin or Lightgib or Justin Leistra like to speak? No? Maybe they're not there. Okay. I think there was concern that the precedent about a special use permit in the district across the street, which is called residential office. In the new code, they were concerned about the precedent of granting a temporary use permit that might set the precedent of allowing temporary permits for commercial uses in other residential districts.
And the answer to that is yes, your code is set up for that. But the old code was set up for that as well. I mean, this isn't a change. And in my mind, whether or not anybody agrees with me, the controls in the new code are tighter than the old code. And if a use isn't suitable for where people want to put it, it's not going to go in. And the ZBA has that authority.
I think there was also the suggestion that we might alter the code that perhaps in residential districts that temporary use permits only be permissible on institutional properties, like, for example, the Spiegel Center, which is also in a residential district.
Certainly you could do that.
Okay. Just wanted to bring it up. I talked to Justin Lightgib earlier this morning, and I've also spoken to Justin Valistra about the issue. So I would imagine we move that along further when we're able to convene a discussion with the planning board on code issues that eventually we want to update.
And I have a couple suggestions about changes to the temporary use setup so that it's clearer about. I don't think there's a problem with it now, but it could be a little clearer. We could change it, make some changes.
So we could finesse the wording.
Yeah.
Bob, you have a request from Justin Glacier to speak.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Justin. You're online.
Okay, if you can hear me, I've had a few concerns for quite a while on this topic, and I would really prefer not to hear the Harley Hots, no offense to him, until we get some clarification on what some of the policies should be on these temporary permits. So some of the questions I have are, one, what properties should be eligible? Two, what uses should be eligible? Having a clear policy on residential properties. My initial reading on this code is that temporary permits may well be prohibited in residential properties entirely. And per what Bob says, I think it makes sense to prohibit them on properties with dwellings, but allow it on properties that have institutional uses, such as a church, a community center, things like that, school. These are where we've typically heard them. I've heard a request from Steve, and I agree with this, that temporary permits for events that are like a single day or maybe a weekend should, particularly for nonprofit fundraisers, should just be streamlined and allowed through just building inspector approval. So that we don't need to have someone trying to raise funds for the Little League have to spend $100 in 2 months coming before a board to do that. I don't think that makes sense. Other things I've been wondering are whether these temporary permits should just be allowed for outdoor activities that are held outside buildings. We haven't seen a bunch of odd requests, but there's nothing prohibiting people from saying, hey, I want to operate a nightclub all summer long. I'm going to make lots of noise. I'm just going to apply through you, even though it's not allowed through zoning. Those are things I really don't want to deal with. And I think we've been asking for some clarity on this for a while. So I'd really appreciate some clarity on what the policy should be. We've had a few debates on what it is, but I'm less concerned about what it is than what policy should be.
Justin, I want to clarify something. You said I don't want to hear Harley Hots until all of this is sorted. Is that, are you not going to hear Harley Hots until you have answers on all of this?
Well, I'm interested in what the trustees think the policy should be on residential properties. I really don't want to overstep our role here and try to infer what everything means until we get some clear discussion with you guys on what how we should be regulating residential properties. I know we've had some discussions for months. I think it's gone back to September. But I just want uniform policy we can follow and enforce. That's what I would like. And at least if our code is whatever our code says, I just want some clarity. That's what I would like.
Okay, and that's probably going to take more than 2 weeks. Just realistically, that's going to take more than 2 weeks. It takes us a while to understand, all the intricacies of what the situation is that you're raising, and then we have to dream of
Well, I
a way.
think we've got to
solve
circulate a
it.
draft code, and then we'll have to have a public hearing and a code change. So it is a longer process. You're right,
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, thank you. So, how does this affect your meeting on June 1st? I just need to know to prepare the guy if he's not going to have a meeting because of a technicality.
I can't speak for the rest of my board. I'm just speaking of myself, and my concern is not wanting to overstep we adopted new code on these and new zoning code. I don't want to overstep our role and say either approve or deny something without understanding the vision behind it and making sure we can uniformly enforce this from here on out. And in particular, how it impacts residential properties. I want to make sure we have clear policy on that.
Okay, and so Justin, thank you. I don't want to speak for the other trustees, but I would like them to chime in here. I think we all but hold on. I think we all hear what Justin is saying, but I do think we can all say that we do intend that, however it's written, it should cover a guy opening a hot dog cart stand for the 10th year in a row where we've never had any problem with it. So yeah, let's iron out the kinks later down the road, but I don't think that should get in the way of the task at hand on June
1st. Steve had a comment.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I believe also, yes, there might be some issues. And the reality of the district that you're dealing with is a LOR, which is one of the smallest districts in the village. It's a mixed use district. By my reading the code, he should be allowed to get a temporary permit, temporary zoning permit to allow him to operate this year. If there's an issue that needs to be addressed, I don't think we should harm him on his 11th year in the village based on a technicality. There are multiple things in the code that we want to address, but if I'm sure Dorothea wants to, add in here, but we do not have money right now in the budget to go back and change the code instantly. It has to be codified. It has to go. I mean, there's multiple steps and a lot of time involved in getting the changes that I have 2.5 pages of items that I found in the code, not huge things, but that I would like to see addressed. I'm sure Justin has a bunch. And it's not, as Dan said, it's not something you can address in 2 weeks. And I don't believe we should harm Charlie for a spot that he's been in for 11 years or his 11th year over a technicality.
Amen.
Okay. All right. Anybody else on this? All right.
So are we clear that the planning board is going to meet on the Harley Hots application?
I believe that is scheduled for June 1st. So if an application is in, I think we're obliged to discuss it. I have not talked to our attorney about this, and I can't speak for the rest of the board. So I was just, as I said, I was looking to seek some clarification on what the policy should be, regardless of what the code says now. I have nothing against Mr. Harley or what he's doing. As I said, we want to be able to uniformly enforce code and policy, and that's the goal. So it's on the agenda, and we'll do whatever we feel is right to do with it. But I was really looking for some direction, for some discussion with the trustees before we did that. Because again, we don't set policy. We could be setting precedent here on what to do with residential properties. So I would have liked a discussion about it.
I think the intent when we made the code changes, Justin, was that this district, it's intended to be a residential character where primarily every building and every occupied building in the district is an office building. It's only labeled residential because the intent is to keep the aesthetic residential character, but it's different from the true residential districts elsewhere in the village. It really is, for all practical purposes, a commercial district that allows office use. It's doubtful, given the context of the houses across the street, that any of those would return to residential use. It would be permissible, but I think given the economics and the physical situation surrounded by parking lots, it's probably not very likely. So I think the danger of a precedent allowing a temporary use permit there versus in the other districts is pretty limited. Lily had her hand up.
I do, Trustee Lanfear, and that is that I would like to suggest that as you do your findings of fact, that would be worked into your findings of fact, that the district is primarily commercial, but that the underlying zoning, we would be always open to residential. But given that there is no residential presently, that it sits on a piece of municipal property, municipally owned property, I think I would name all of those incidences as part of my findings of fact. That was just my suggestion.
Okay, so first of all, what I'm hearing is there is no intent to prohibit this particular thing in this district, which is useful to hear. If that's at least if that's the initial opinion from the trustees, that there was no real intent to, from this district at least, to prohibit this type of thing, that's something we can work with. So that's useful information to go forward with at least. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, moving on. Number 6.
Bob, we can't hear you when you turn away from the
Sorry,
mic.
I was just crossing out my agenda. Discussion of Hodgson Russ legal bills.
I hate to interrupt, Bob, but do you want me to hang around for this?
I don't think so. I think we're good, Jeff.
All right, everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bob, this is your action item from the last meeting. You remember you were going to return a report on why they were instructed to withhold sending the bills for almost an entire year.
It was a board decision because we were having a cash flow issue at the time. The board instructed Frank and I to call Hodgson Russ and ask them to hold off to make sure we could get through the year. Frank and I did that. Hodgson Russ complied. That's what's happened. Sophie hasn't been in the office, so we haven't had the opportunity for somebody to search the minutes to find out if it's referenced in the minutes. I'm not even sure if it was if it was an executive session or if it was in the regular part of the board meeting when it happened.
Trustee Galusha, I think it was an executive session. I think you remember that too, don't you, Trustee Lanfear?
I do remember that the board, as I thought about it after the meeting last time, it was long ago. It was about a year ago, and we were having a problem catching up with the bills, and so the board directed Bob and Frank to call Hodgson Rush and see if they could come to some sort of an agreement regarding either paying in installments or whatever way they were agreeable. And I think that was the answer, is that they deferred the payment until now.
Okay. I have no recollection of that. I would never say yes to withholding bills for almost a year. So if you guys say it happened, then it happened. But I just am taught never to do that in a business. You receive the bill. It's just when you can set up a payment plan on a bill, but you would never say to somebody, don't ever send us a bill. Frank, you're an accountant. You understand these things.
Excuse me, Trustee Galusha here. We did not do that. We actually talked to them and we asked for their understanding. We gave them a good, clear picture of what our financial position was. And we asked if they could work with us, and they agreed to work with us. We never instructed them to hold off the bills. They did it, but it wasn't as you are portraying it, Trustee Keating.
Okay, I find it strange that a law firm would choose to not send us bills. But hey, let's move on. We don't have any notes on this, so this is all just conjecture. So it doesn't matter. But going forward, we want them to send us a bill every month.
As they will. Okay. Next item we have is the organizational meeting.
Yeah, I saw some strange things here. I saw on the first, this is on page 3 of it, under the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yep.
It was interesting to me that there was Justin Valistra is on there as the chairman, and then 2 rows below, he's on there again to fulfill a term ending in 2025, and Justin Lightgeb is not on there, and Dave Marshall is not on there until you get to the payment. So that table on page 3 looked incomplete to me.
Okay, going back to page 3, you don't reappoint everybody every year. They have terms. Their terms weren't up. They were appointed to fulfill a current term.
Okay.
So
So then why is Valistra's on there twice, once to be on the board and once to be the chair? Got it. Okay.
Correct. Chairmans are always reappointed on a yearly basis.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a lot of motions to be made here, so let's start on page 1. Is appointing Trustee Lampier.
Bob, I'm sorry. Apparently, Justin Valistra would like to address the board on the organizational meeting. Does the board want to hear from him?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Justin, you're online.
Thank you. I don't need to address anything early on. And I know I shared some comments with the mayor and Dorothea over what I thought might have been some errors in the draft document I saw. And
those have been corrected, Justin.
All right, that's good. I'll just tell you the topics I was interested in discussing, and you can withhold it until later. Trash haulers is something I'm concerned about. Particularly, you're not including Casella, who is, I think, the only trash hauler in the village, and I have issues with them. We can get to that later. Procurement policy has been something I've been interested in discussing. I think this has been going on about 2 or 3 years now. Those are a couple things I want to talk about. So I don't want to distract you from the other items in there. So go ahead and get to those first if you'd like.
Okay. So moving on to the appointments of specialized services. Frank had some.
I can't hear you.
Frank had some concerns about, let me hold this in front of me so I'm talking into the microphone. Had some concerns about we need to write some standards for some of the specialized consultants that we're appointing. Clearly right now would be a difficult time to bid or have an RFQ for these services. There also are many of our consultants have specialized services. The attorneys, for example, have a knowledge of history that if we were to change consultants would require an additional expense for the new attorney to come up to speed on the history of ongoing issues that the various boards are dealing with. So I did want to just acknowledge concerns. Sorry, phone. Okay. All right, so with that, let's start with the appointment of specialized services. Appoint Menji Metzger Bar and Company CPA PC for the one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Trustee Galusha.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier, aye.
I'm not sure if we lost Trustee Stetser.
She had to step out for a minute. She'll be right back.
Okay. Motion passes. Bob, you need to do the appointment to Deputy Mayor.
I already did that.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Okay.
Yep. Okay, next is appoint Scott Harder as village engineer for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Trustee Galusha.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Stetser, yeah? Nope. Okay. Motion passes.
Appoint Stephen Robson as village assessor for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Lampier, second.
Oh, okay.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier,
Motion
aye.
passes. Motion passes.
Appoint Bernard Dunnigan as financial advisors for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion to pass. Do I have a second? A
Second, Trustee
anyone?
Galusha.
Thank you. Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier, aye.
Motion passes.
Appoint McCord Landscaping as the village landscape architect for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Thank you. Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier, aye.
Motion passes.
Appoint Maria Hewitt as the historic preservation consultant for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Lampier, second.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier, aye.
Motion passes.
Appoint Q-Tech Engineering for site lighting review for the PZBA for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier, aye.
Motion
Thank you.
passes.
Appoint Pebble Stream for landscape architectural consulting for the PZBA for a one-year term ending 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lampier, aye.
Bob, we need to go back. We missed the village insurance agent. Gary Wilkins.
Oh, thank you. Appoint Gary Wilkins as village insurance agent for a one-year term ending in 2021. I make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser, are you able to vote?
Yes, I heard Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Jeffrey Turner as the village board attorney at a rate of $125 per hour for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Stetser, second.
Lampier, second.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Jeffrey Turner as the Historic Preservation Board attorney at a rate of $125 per hour for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint as Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals attorney Mindy Zoglin of the Zoglin Group at a rate set per retainer agreement for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Timothy R. McGill as municipal bond attorney for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Somebody a second?
Stetser, second.
Thank you. Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye. Sorry, I'm eating dinner.
Trustee
All right.
Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Hodgson Russ as special counsel for 75 Monroe Avenue at a rate set per retainer agreement for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
That doesn't get a rate in there?
there wasn't a rate previously, and I believe we had a retainer agreement with them previously.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's the
Aye.
same as Mindy. Mindy, the same thing.
Correct.
Okay, Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Christian Cassini as the village labor attorney at a rate of $165 per hour for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
motion passes.
I'm here. I'm just going to turn my screen off so that I can eat without being self-conscious. So I'm here. I'm going to put
That's
myself
fine,
on
Renee.
mute.
No
Okay,
worries.
all right.
No worries.
As long as I know you're present.
If I can add something for Trustee Keating, this is Trustee Galusha. I believe that Dan Spitzer and Chuck Malcolm's rate is $295 an hour. And Mindy Zoglin's rate is $260 an hour.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, I was just
Okay,
curious why some of them were in writing in here and some of them weren't, but yeah, I'll let it go.
Appoint Bill McBride as chairman to the Historic Preservation Board for a one-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Lanfear, second.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Virginia Searle to the Historic Preservation Board for a 3-year term ending in 2023. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Lanfear, second.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Appoint Mark Harrington to the Historic Preservation Board for a 3-year term ending in 2023. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Keating, aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Christine Lanahan as an alternate board member to the Historic Preservation Board for a 1-year term ending in 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Lanfear, second.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Justin Valistra as chairman to the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals for a 1-year term ending in 2021 and make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Trustee Stetser, second.
Thank you. Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
motion
Appoint
passes.
Susan Loda to the Planning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term ending in 2025. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Trustee Galusha,
Lanfear,
second.
second.
Okay.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Trustee Stetser, aye.
motion passes.
Appoint Justin Valistra to the Planning Board of Appeals, the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals to fulfill the term ending in 2025. There should be an and in between those two.
I'll correct it.
I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Trustee Stetser,
Lanfear,
second.
second.
Thank you. Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
motion
Approve.
passes.
Approve the wage compensation schedule for the 2020-2021 calendar year. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lanfear, aye.
Trustee Stetser.
That's all right.
Okay, approve mayoral appointments for the 2020, 2021 calendar year. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Bob, you have to assign him.
Yeah, there was one difference in here, which is the sheriff's department was Renee and Bob, not me and Bob.
Yeah, and I think I gave that to Renee because Renee really has assumed that position.
It's fine. It's just it has my name on it, and that was Renee. So it's
Yeah,
just
it should be Renee.
Yeah.
I thought it had been corrected. Am I looking at the wrong one?
No, what you're looking at is the appointments as of 2019, 2020. Since I don't assume that the same people are going to be in the same positions, I wait for the instructions.
Gotcha.
So, Bob, was there any change to the mayoral appointments as they read? I removed from there was the newsletter.
Right, and Dan's right. It is, I was looking at the wrong line. Yeah, his name is in there. When I looked at this earlier, I didn't catch that. So.
Yeah. The only other change is adding
Bob, I can't hear you.
I'm adding myself to the Economic Development Chamber of Commerce Committee and also as a secondary liaison to the PZBA.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. I just wanted to be clear.
All right. Make a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Lanfear, second.
Vote.
Trustee Keating? I can't hear you, Dan.
Aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier?
Lanfear, aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the sewer rate for the 2020, 2021 fiscal year. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Trustee Galusha.
All in favor?
Trustee Keating?
Aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier?
Lanfear, aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the official meeting schedule for the 2020 to 2021 year. Do I have a second?
Lanfear, second.
Thank you. Vote.
Trustee Keating?
Didn't we normally have a clause in here that we only do once during the summer months?
It's dependent on the schedule is created. The board approves the schedule. We don't, that's in the thing I give you in December with all the meeting dates. I can add the clause of meeting once in there, but if the board had decided in a year that they wanted to meet more than that, they could. So.
We could also meet less if we needed to.
Correct.
Aye.
So I always left it in the schedule.
Aye.
Mayor Corby?
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha?
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser?
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier? Lily? Trustee Lampier? Can't hear you, Lily.
Lanfear, aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, approve the hiring process and employee training for 2020, 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating?
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve the official newspaper and official bank for 2020, 2021. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Lanfear, second.
Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve the bond and check signatures for 2020, 2021. Do I have a second?
Trustee Stetser, second.
All in favor?
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Should I vote with this, if my name is on there? Do
You
I
can vote for
abstain?
this. No,
You can vote for this.
I can't. Okay. Aye, Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve the hours of operation and floating holidays for 2020, 2021. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Trustee Galusha.
Vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve the fee schedule for 2020, 2021. Do I have a second?
Trustee Stetser, second.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
There were a few in there that were highlighted yellow. I don't know why they were highlighted yellow, but I'm sure it doesn't really matter. Was that just telling us those were new or something?
Yes, the highlights are anything that I changed or made more current per suggestion of our building inspector.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolutions for 2020, 2021.
Bob, can we go back? You got the parking fee scheduled next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
Oh, it's a separate motion. I thought it was all part of the fees. Okay. I'll
Separate.
make a motion to approve the parking fee schedule for 2020, 2021. Do I have a second?
Trustee Galusha, second.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 resolutions addressing mileage, attendance at schools, conferences, meetings, special meetings, licensing of haulers and conditions of collection, electrical inspections, and authorized payment in advance of audit claims. Would someone like to make a second?
I'll second that. Trustee Galusha.
Thank you. Vote.
Before you vote, there seems to be a comment. Justin would like to comment again regarding the trash haulers. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yes, if you adopt this, I believe there'll be no trash collection in the village.
Why would there be-
Primary trash hauler is Casella, which I don't believe is listed in here.
There
And,
was a,
and
Justin, there was a,
if that's being amended, that's fine. But I know a lot of residents have been concerned about their policies, particularly since they're only collecting recyclables every 2 weeks, which leads to a big buildup of trash, and where the previous norm had been to collect trash every week and recyclables every week. I know for myself, I have a hard time putting out enough trash bins on my curb just to deal with them. So I would really encourage the trustees to try to negotiate for better terms for our residents. And I guess that's all I have to say.
can I comment to the board, please?
Yes, please.
This was corrected today. I went over it with Steve. Steve can verify. We've gotten 3 licenses in from Suburban, Casella, and Coakley. SAREC is also, I understand, servicing the village through the town with the town districts, and the village was a part of that. So we do have several haulers listed for the village.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Did we get a second?
Hold on. Yes, Frank seconded.
Okay, then we'll ask for a vote.
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the procurement building use policy for 2020, 2021. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Trustee
Trustee
Keating,
Galusha.
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There were a couple
Trustee
other
Galusha,
items.
second that.
No, there were a couple other items. One was the scheduling the information session on 75 Monroe. Really no reason not to do this.
Well, except our attorneys advised not doing it. And
Well, that's
I
news
think,
to me.
well, I spoke to them today after I saw your email on that, Dan, and they advised not doing it until after Judge Ark makes a decision. I've also talked to the other boards who would be involved in it, because it really, the update involves the work of the other boards. They also would like to hold off until after Judge Ark makes a decision. The other thing I would say is right now, we can't really have a public information session really until we get out of the lockdown.
Well, you can do them on Zoom. You can do them on this. It's a terrific way to do it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's a terrific way of doing it. It seems like it might be a more cumbersome way of doing it. But in any case, I think that the guidance from our attorneys is we really shouldn't be discussing pending litigation when there's pending court cases underway. So I think I would defer to the attorneys.
Okay, then how about a newsletter to the village about 75 Monroe?
Well, I think we agreed in the budget process that we were going to hold off on that until we got through the end of the fiscal year, which is only a few more weeks.
How about a Facebook post from the village on 75 Monroe?
I think that we could do.
Let's do it then. Why don't you draft it up, Bob?
I will.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other items? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Trustee Galusha.
Oh,
Trustee Keating,
Aye.
Mayor Corby,
Corby, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier.
Lanfear, aye.
Motion passes.
Thank
I'll be
you,
hearing your
everyone.
names in my sleep. Good night.
Long meeting.
Thank you. Night.